kicking off the tournament with a Blitz tournament. I'm Grandmaster Benjamin Bach, and it is my pleasure to be joined here by Irina Crush. Irina, what do you expect from this tournament?
Yeah, well, today we got a day of bliss that is going to determine the pairings for the rest of the tournament. So the people who do the best actually get to choose what pairing number they want, which is really cool. So I guess they'll be taking mostly white as their reward for doing well. And we really have the best players in the world in the field today. We got Hikaru, obviously, who we're going to be following. He's playing Wesley So in the first round. And we got Magnus Carlsen, who's going to be playing Anish Giri, Fabiano playing Gukesh, Mamidyar playing Noterbeck, and Firouzja playing Aryan Tari. So this is a really star-studded field, guys, and I think it's going to be a super exciting day.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, the big question will be how the players will approach this tournament. Also in this tournament, we have the only player rated over 2,900, Ali Reza, on the Blitz FIDE list. And you mentioned a very good point. If you make it into the top 5, you secure yourself an extra white. So the question will be, will the players really try to win this tournament and maybe try to fight for #1 on the World Blitz rankings? Or will they be happy with +1, +2, and an extra white game?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're going to see at the end, at the end, they might start getting a little bit more strategic to lock up their extra white. But I think in the beginning, everyone's probably just going to be trying to do their best. I mean, it's not like it's, I mean, the Blitz tournament is not like super high stakes. I feel like they should be still pretty relaxed about playing it and just, showing us their relaxed chess.
Right. And Irina, do you think between Wesley and Hikaru we will see a Berlin draw or not? I mean, we've seen it very often between these two. I think Wesley definitely respects Hikaru, especially in Blitz. So I think there's a chance that could happen, especially given the strategy that you mentioned earlier, that you want to secure one extra white game. So you don't want to take a whole lot of risk. So do you think that's going to happen or not?
I mean, I really hope not. I can't imagine that someone in like round 1 of a Blitz tournament would, not try to get a game with the white pieces. So, I mean, I'm thinking that we should be seeing real games.
Okay. We'll see what's going to happen. I think there's a chance. D4. Never mind. It's already out of the window, and we go into knight of 3. So probably the move D5 here by Hikaru. That's how he usually plays, and we'll probably bishop E4 check. A bit of a
he also
surprise.
plays the Bogo Indian. Actually, I've noticed that in Hikaru's game, and I think on bishop D2. Does he like this move C5? I've seen him play that.
I've seen him play. I've seen him play that as well in Title Tuesdays and in Pro Chess League. So this system is white gets more space, but black is pretty solid here. So let's see what Hikaru has got up his sleeve.
Yeah, interesting. He didn't go for the main line with D5. He went for this move D6, kind of conceding the space advantage and just playing it, I guess, in King's Indian style. I wonder if he's going to play is he trying to play E5 at some point, or how is he going to deal with this lack of space?
Yeah, generally black goes for E5 at some point. He could also consider the move A5, gaining a bit of space on the queen side so that white cannot play B4, but there we have it, E5 on the board. And I would think Wesley should definitely be better objectively, but these positions are never easy to play. We see Wesley gaining space on that side of the board. That being said, it's difficult for black to really get some sort of king side attack going. Also, this knight on D2, usually in King's Indians, it would be on C3, so that is slightly in Hikaru's favor. I would say the knight on D2 is very slightly misplaced.
Yeah, I mean, the other difference is that black's bishop is on E7 instead of on G7, which, certainly not a bad, I think, difference for black, having the bishop on E7. So Hikaru goes C6. Obviously, white is not going to be taking that pawn, and he goes bishop B2. And, okay, bishop G4, interesting approach. I mean, is he trying to take that knight, Benjamin? What do you think?
I don't think he necessarily wants to take his knight. I think he just wants to get his pieces out. I think after this move, he wants to play knight BD7. And he didn't want to play knight BD7 on the last move because then he would have blocked in his bishop on C8. So that's the move I expect here, knight BD7 or maybe A5, especially now that Wesley has moved his rook from the A file. It makes a little bit more sense to open up the A file yourself. And you could potentially also think about a move like knight A6. So let's see what he's going to do. I mean, definitely this knight has to come back, has to come into the game sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's not a bad outcome of the opening for Hikaru. I would also say the bishop being on B2 is not like the most standard thing for these kinds of positions, right? It's kind of staring into the pawn, and it's not so easy for white to play C5 and open him up. But okay, we are getting a transformation in the pawn structure. Now, Hikaru's got a big decision. If he takes with a knight, then white was going to go B5, probably. So he took with the pawn, And all right, so he basically wants to trade on b4, open up the file, and probably have like a knight either on a6 or d7. Yeah, I mean, probably knight a6. Yeah.
I think so too, but here we see the point behind Wesley's trade on c6. He goes c5, breaking up the structure. Let's see how Hikaru is going to deal with this, because if you take on c5, then the e5 pawn starts hanging. I think it makes a lot of sense to take on b4 first, to open up the file for your rook. I think Wesley's just going to recapture for now. He could also take on d6, but I think he can just maintain the tension, and now we will see what Hikaru is going to do. But the position gets simplified a little bit. That being said, if anyone is better, it should be Wesley, right?
Yeah. It definitely seems, well, it's easier for Wesley to play. Like his pieces are all developed, while Hikaru still has to figure out what to do with that knight on b8. I mean, I guess one line here is like take on c5. And if knight takes, okay, he went for development with knight d7. And I guess the point is that if white takes on d6, bishop d6, the b4 pawn is going to hang as black's c6 pawn hangs.
All right, so knight d7 on the board by Hikaru. So now let's see what Wesley is going to do. It makes a lot of sense to take on d6. But then your pawn on b4 starts hanging as well. You could also go knight to c4, but then you hang the pawn on c5. So maybe still a small edge for Wesley, but I definitely see how the position can get simplified. Because I think eventually this pawn, white will eventually hang a pawn on the queen side, whether it's going to be b4 or c5, and black will probably lose the e5 pawn in the process. And as we speak, we have knight c4 on the board by Wesley.
All right, so basically he has to play bishop takes b4. And there's going to be this trade of pawns, and black, I mean, visually, of course, it looks kind of nice for white having that center pawn. Let's just see how that's working out. So the bishop takes b4. Which knight should take on e5? It's kind of a question, yeah, because if knight f takes e5, I guess looks pretty normal. So that if there's a bishop trade, the queen can protect the pawn on e4.
Yeah. I think it will probably lead to the same thing. In case white takes with either knight, you probably take with your knight on d7. White takes back as well. And if you take on d1, how is Wesley going to take? I guess with the bishop, it still feels like, if anything, Wesley still has a very, very slight advantage. But I feel like Hikaru should be able to neutralize it with a very accurate play. But yeah, he's also down some time on the clock. So let's see what he is going to come up with. Like, let's say you take on d1. Wesley's going to take, like, let's say you take and take an e4. After knight takes c6, this bishop is under attack, and it lacks a good square, and your pieces are a little bit loose. So I love this move by Hikaru. Rook to a2.
Wow, that's a nice intermediate move. Yeah, he's like fighting for the initiative, kind of targeting this bishop, which there's not like an obviously good square for it. And when you take the pawn on e4, the f2 pawn is going to hang. So right now, can you just take on e4, Benjamin, or is there something wrong with that move?
Maybe Wesley wants to go bishop takes g7, king takes, and then knight takes b4, which could still give him a slight edge. So we see bishop a3 by Hikaru, but now what about takes
and f3?
F3. Yeah, solidifying that pawn on e4. And indeed, the pawn on c6 is a pass pawn, but it's a super weak pawn. Wesley takes on, this just wins a pawn. But his pieces will be a little bit clumsy after takes rook to d8. I mean, his knight is a little bit loose. It's not easy. I mean, for the moment, he's got that issue on the back rank. So I feel like Hikaru has decent chance to hold, but it's definitely a little bit annoying.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like things have gotten a little bit wrong. I mean, just the fact that black has lost a pawn and has these ugly doubled pawns. It felt like things were pretty safe for him, but things definitely got more dangerous in the last few moves.
All right, and we'll see rook d4 on the board by Hikaru. Now, I think Wesley definitely does not want to go f3 because he permanently weakens the second rank. He could also just take on f6, and there we have it, f3 on the board. But after bishop d6, wait, how does he actually defend this pawn? Because you kind of go g3, rook takes h2. You can play h3, but then black can maybe plant his bishop on g3, and I think you're really kind of stuck there on the back rank. So, I don't know, I think this might have been a mistake by Wesley.
And he basically can't really, well, can he go king g1, or is there like rook a3 could be quite annoying there, right?
Rook a3 does look annoying. You can still move the knight. He goes knight b2 right away, but I think now Hikaru can take on d1 and take on h2. That being said, after knight e3, if anything, white still has a very slight pull.
Yeah. Okay, so it's 3-on-3. Is he, because the knight's coming to f5 and trying to like set up a back rank checkmate. Maybe we go bishop e5. Or no, yeah, h5. I was going to say bishop e5 and then h5, but I think there were some ideas of mate there, yeah.
I think Hikaru's defended this super accurately. He just played h5 and bishop g3, and he wants to go for something like rook f2. and force the king into the corner, or now he can maybe give a check and rook a2. And I think Wesley is forced to give up this pawn on g2. So he goes h4. This should be a draw. I mean, in case it takes, then you give the check and go back. And I don't think Wesley has a good way to get out of there.
Yeah, White's rook is not like powerful enough to deal with his g3 pawn immediately. So, check, and then he gets the pawn. Okay, so Hikaru has navigated his way to a draw. Very nice. I mean, it looked a little tricky, but that was a really good defense by him.
Indeed, yeah, this should be a pretty straightforward draw. That being said, of course, in Blitz, anything can always happen. It's still a little bit annoying. You're down a pawn, but it's going to be very difficult for Wesley to ever make progress. I love this move by Hikaru, rook a3, pinning the king to the defense of this pawn. And rook e3, another excellent defensive move. He makes sure that Wesley cannot play the move f4. And I guess now you wait with king f7.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, I would probably like to have my king on g6. Yeah, there he goes with that. And probably just keep the rook on e1 and make sure they can never play e5. You know, I don't really see how White's going to be able to create any problems here.
Right, and we see Hikaru waiting. The thing for Wesley is that if he goes f4, Hikaru can always take on e3. King f4, which is, it's a little bit, well, I guess this is all
king f7
under control.
King f7, there's king f5. Okay, you don't want to blunder that.
All right, there was an N on my computer. I had to get rid of that one. But rook a3, I think now check and king f5, and that's a draw right away.
Yep. Okay. So not too hard.
I think Wesley will keep playing this for a little bit longer. Oh, but now taking king
trade
f6
and show our technique in the king and pawn endgame.
Yeah, I think he will play it out till stalemate, right? I mean, why or whatever. And the first result is in the book. So Wesley So and Hikaru draw their first game, and yeah, not a bad result for Hikaru at all, I believe. And we will see how he will do in the second round. Irina, let's have a very quick look at what happened in the other games.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, so let me see. I should be able to go back, I believe. So let's go here, round number 1. All right, so Magnus is still fighting it out against Anish Giri, and he looks to be in trouble. He's down a knight, but can he draw the game with this b-pawn?
Wow. Yeah, this is a tough situation when the players only have a few seconds, because you don't really, you can't really calculate out anything. But yeah, obviously Anish is not risking anything. He can always
should be winning here, but how? 93. Oh no, he blundered. King c2, king d4. Ouch.
Oh my gosh. Wow. It's gonna be a draw. Okay.
That is unfortunate. He had it in the bag, but again, with just a couple seconds on the clock, it is never easy.
Do you want to see how he could have won? Like, where was like the really, like around here was like the easy moment, right? Oh, we got another one.
Oh, yeah, right around here he was winning. But the move 93 was a big mistake. Apparently, he had a bunch of winning moves. Something like knight b2 seems winning. And in case of king d5
or something.
You do this, and black gets pushed back.
You put them into Zugzwang. Okay, but that's pretty tricky. Yeah, that's not easy to see with like 2 seconds.
Indeed, yeah. All right, so this game ends in a draw. So the game between Anish and Magnus ends in a draw. The game between Wesley and Hikaru. Firouzja beats Aryantari with the white pieces. Aryantari is by far the lowest seed. I think pretty much everyone will be looking to get a full point against him. I mean, that's just how it goes, being a 2640 in a field of 2750 plus players. And Noterbeck wins with the black pieces against Shahryar Mamacharov. And a game between Gukash and Fabiano ends in a draw.
All right, let's take a look at how Noterbeck beats Shahryar. He's on a roll these days. He just won, I think, the Chess Kid Cup.
Because he is still a kid, Caruana. So he had to win that one.
Yeah. So
all right,
let's see. We had some kind of an English opening.
Yep.
Right.
So
d5, yes, and seems pretty comfortable for black. He's getting to trade a lot of pieces.
Yeah, so pretty standard position. And h5, love that move by Noterbeck. He wants to open up right away. Now, I kind of wonder why did Shaq not play the move g4? Yeah. To me, it looks a little bit more logical to keep it closed, but I mean, then
probably knight h7 and bishop g5 at some point after like h3, you know?
Right, yeah. All right. Okay, so rook h1 was played, Noterbeck castled. I think objectively this position should be around even, but it's much easier to play for black in a blitz game because you're just going to roll forward on the king side, and that's what Noorderberg did with the move f5. Bishop g5, trading up the bishops. Yeah, it just looks tough in a blitz game. Also here, we already see the Noorderberg is up quite a bit of time. Shaq was doing... Oh.
Okay.
Ouch.
Oh, no. And he's losing a piece.
Exactly, yeah, because the knight protects the queen at the very end. So, yeah, we see these blunders can happen when both players only have like 10 seconds on the clock. So, yeah, Noorderberg and Firouzja are the only two players to win their first round. Let's see, in round number 2, Hikaru is facing off with the white pieces against Noorderberg. So let's see how he is going to approach this game. I mean, I think knowing Hikaru, he's just going to go all out, go for the win. So Irina, is it going to be e4, d4, knight f3, or c4? What do you think?
Yeah, well, okay, Hikaru plays a lot of like knight f3 and b3 and blitz, right? It's a little hard to say what he's going to play. I find like it's a very principled matchup when you get, you know, like a legendary player like Hikaru against someone who is like at the beginning of their chess career, right? But is already like a star, right? It's always just kind of fascinating to watch that. So yeah, hard to predict Hikaru's first move. I'll go with d4.
Okay, d4.
Yeah.
Then I will go with knight f3. Let's see which one he is gonna go for. I mean, e4 is also very much possible.
Yeah.
I'm sure the players have a little bit of a break in between the rounds. I don't know. Does anyone have an idea when the next games are gonna start?
Well, one thing we can do is like we can do a little review of like the other games. If as we're waiting, we can see like how I don't know how Fabi, for example, was doing in game 1. If you want.
All right, let's see. I just had a very quick glance at the Chess.com broadcast. The players are not sitting down any moment soon, so I guess it will take a while. But let's have a look, indeed.
You know, today they're playing 9 games of a 3+2, right? So it's not going to be a super long event, guys. They're actually starting at 7 p.m. Norway time, which is pretty late for like a tournament to start, right? So it's not like your typical tournament. It's really like the appetizer before the main course starts tomorrow, just to determine these pairing numbers. And it'll probably all finish in around 3 hours total. So Ali Reza, okay, he played, what is it, Jabava London?
Yeah. But as we speak, the players, I see Hikaru is sitting down, so I assume we're going to start pretty soon. But yeah, let's just go through this game real quick. A Jabava London, indeed, with white going h4, black stopping it with the move h5. All of this is pretty standard. I'm just kind of curious. The opening looks pretty good for Tari, so I'm kind of curious where things went wrong for him.
Yeah,
I
where
mean,
did white finally play the move g4? That's what I want to know.
Right. Not anytime soon.
Wow,
I mean, so far it looks like a dream Grunfeld, I would say, for Tari.
Yeah, this seems so bad for white. I mean, like a whole
Exactly.
a week on d2, like he's probably gonna lose some material. So how did you trick him?
Here the rook gets a little bit stuck, but Tari's still, he's just up a pawn. Okay. Everything looking good for Tari. Let's see. Okay, it becomes a little bit tricky with black having a lot of loose pieces. Okay, this is where it kind of goes wrong. He should not have taken the knight. He can take this pawn over here because the bishop is pinned and the knight is hanging. I think had Tari played that, he probably would not have lost, but hey, with 6 seconds on the clock, anything can happen. But here the c-pawn becomes extremely dangerous.
And I think that c-pawn actually promoted pretty soon.
Exactly.
Did he allow rook g8? Oh, he allowed rook g8. Oh, man.
But actually, he could have taken. This is not... This looks completely lost. But it's not even that bad because you have a rook and you're going to get a lot of pawns. And actually, it starts looking like... I think if you trade...
You can't protect f3 at all. Like, you don't even have queen to c6 or queen b7. You can't even guard that pawn.
Exactly. So, again, it just goes to show how quickly it is with just a couple seconds on the clock. Had Tari had just a little bit more time, he might have figured this out, and maybe he would have still been able to hold the draw. But as it went, he lost this game. So bit of a lucky break for Alireza Firouzja, the fashionista and the part-time chess player. But let's see what's going to happen in round number 2. Hikaru is already sitting down. Noterback, I'm sure, is going to appear any moment now. And yeah, Irina, what do you... yeah, so Hikaru is saying like, oh, I'm not a chess player, I'm a streamer. And
Yeah.
Firouzja, he's a fashion designer. Fabiano, he's a podcaster. Or what do you make of all of this? All these chess players having their side hobbies.
Yeah, it's
so
actually, I mean, I think it's pretty interesting like that, that people are branching out and doing other things. And, I mean, honestly, I think it's nice to have a bit of balance in your life. It's a way, I guess, it's a way to interact with the world, to kind of share more of your talent, actually. So I think it's quite nice. I certainly enjoy, Fabiano's podcast as well. And I was also watching like his recaps from the World Championship matches. I mean, he's adding a lot of value to the chess community with that. So yeah, I mean, I've also started my YouTube channel, Benjamin. I guess I should tell you guys about that. After being, told to do this for so long and resisting, finally in January of this year, I started it.
Oh, I lost you there for a second. I don't know if the audience could hear you, but you said you started your YouTube channel. But
Exactly.
yeah, that's awesome. I saw that one video actually did really well. I think that the ABCs of calculation.
Yeah. Right. That one, for some reason, I guess what I did, I chose the title like just by accident, but it turned out to be the best title ever because I guess people really like to hear like the ABCs. And I didn't, I did not choose that strategically for the most views, but that turned into like the most watched video just because of the title, I think.
It's always pretty funny. Like sometimes the most random video will get you the most views. For example, for myself, my video with the most views is a video that I recorded from a hotel room on my laptop and not, at home on my PC. But yeah, that's awesome. And did you already manage to become a YouTube partner?
Okay, I should ask the guy who's actually helping me do all this stuff because all you mean like you have to get a certain number of subscribers or something for that, right?
To get your channel monetized, but actually as we speak, it's
monetized. It's monetized now.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Anyway, we see a bit of a mix of a Trompowsky attack or a Taurus system, as whatever you want to call it. Notably going for a very quick knight e4 and knight c6. So let's see how Hikaru is going to play this. He goes knight b2.
Interesting. What so he's trying to get queen b6 and what's the way to protect that pawn? Is it just actually? Yeah, it seems a little tricky because the pawn on d4 is hanging too.
Yeah, so let's see if Noterback is going to go for that. He could also play it very solid with a move like bishop to g4. Now taking is not very appealing because black takes and then knight on f3 is under attack. So I think Hikaru will just play a move like c3, solidifying his center. And the game should be approximately even, but he's currently thinking, looking to the side. So let's see what he's going to come up with.
Yeah, I mean, c3 seems like a pretty obvious move here. Yeah, just completing this pawn setup in the center, making sure that d4 is guarded. So it's strange that he's actually thinking, because you would think like that's like really the natural move.
I would think so. You can also go bishop b2 because after c3 you do have to reckon with black taking on d2 and on taking on f3, giving you double pawns. So bishop b2 you can always recapture with the bishop, and that's what he does. He is already down 30 seconds though, and we see Noterback trading right away. And now he can go e6 or take on d4. I think black shouldn't really have any problems. I mean, neither should white, but it looks like a reversed Slav defense, I would say, for
yeah, it's kind of funny. I guess this position is the reason that it's hard for me to stay away from the main lines as white. You know what I mean? Because I know the London and all these London type of systems have gotten very popular, but when you see a position like this and you realize like black has just gotten the most comfortable, solid position out of the opening so soon, that it sort of like turns you off these lines a bit.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we see Noterback trading on d4 and going bishop to d6. So he wants to get rid of Hikaru's bishop pair. I think the most ambitious is definitely to keep one pair of bishops on the board. He goes c4. Interesting approach as well. He wants to blast open the position as quickly as possible. Now, in case Noterback takes on f4 and takes on c4, do you think Hikaru is looking at the move d5?
I think he's definitely looking at it. Yeah, he's definitely looking at it. I mean, rook e1 and like knight e7, queen e5 or something, not letting him castle. I mean, I definitely think that that idea of like sacking a couple of pawns to open the center is in Hikaru's mind here.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely what he should go for. So let's see what Noterback's going to do. He can also just castle or take an f4 first, but I think white should be a tiny bit better after taking on d5, because then the pawn on d5 will always be a target. That being said, the pawn on d4 is also a little bit weak because black is attacking it. But I think, you have more pressure here. Your pieces are slightly more actively placed, so
Yeah.
white should have a very, very slight pull here.
Yeah, I agree. I think basically it's a battle of the bishop on f3 versus the knight on c6. And this is an interesting decision by Hikaru, actually going bishop e3. Staying, I mean, I guess now his d4 pawn is going to have more support, and it's going to be kind of a quieter game where I bet at some point he's going to play a move like g3, to limit the bishop on d6. And actually, I mean, yeah, I would always be quite happy as white here.
Yeah, so let's see what Noterback is going to do. I mean, Queen d7 makes a lot of sense. You don't ever want to take on d5 because then there's bishop takes h2, and black wins back the bishop. But rook c1, very logical move. Hikaru's got to be careful not to play rook e1 because that blunders to bishop to b4. But I'm sure he sees that. So I like the idea that you mentioned earlier with g3, making sure that this is never hanging. Queen d3, also a nice move. He can go to b5 or b3 and put a little bit of pressure on this pawn. And I think he can be quite happy about the outcome of the opening. He's got a very, very slight edge, and Noterback will have to defend for a long time. And that's always annoying in a blitz game.
Yeah, I mean, another plan for white is trying to get his pawns like a3, b4. I don't know how dangerous that is because black can always play a6 in that situation. But I would certainly think about having like a pawn on a3, and then if black plays a5, then the b5 square is even weaker.
Right, and we see the move rook a8 by Noterback. Again, this pawn cannot be taken, but if you go g3, I think at some point it will definitely become a threat. And also, I think there's nothing wrong with this move, and we see it on the board. Hikaru also up 20 seconds on the clock, so all the ingredients are in place for a good game here. I mean, he's definitely putting Noterback under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, Hikaru says he likes these technical positions. And, I think against younger players, even when they're as strong as Noterbeck, it's still not a bad idea to kind of play a position like this, just on class. And so, okay, so he went g3, h4. Yeah, typical ideas. He'll get that pawn to h5, in fact, right? There you go. Weaken up the black king side a bit, go king g2, rook h1, and even threaten some sort of attack.
And what I love about the move h4, I'll point this out real quick, is that in case you play, let's say, someone like king g2, Noterback can play g6, and now h4 can be met with h5. But Hikaru played h4 before Noterback played g6, so then now he goes h5, and Noterback is not in time to get in the move h5 himself. That being said, there is the move queen h3, which is a little bit annoying because now he starts threatening stuff like this, but Hikaru can easily defend against it with a move like rook to c3. Also, look at the clock. Hikaru is up almost half a minute.
Yeah. Okay, so he went, okay, rook c3 and queen d1. That makes me feel a bit better because that rook e3 threat was pretty scary. How about king g2 now?
I
Yeah,
love that move.
very
King
natural
g2,
move.
followed by rook to h1. You can open up the h-file whenever you want. Also, I don't think this is ever really an idea to go rook h4 to f4, but you never know. The annoying thing always about this h1 is that white can choose whether he wants to use it to open up the h-file or put this pawn on h6 to make black's king permanently weak. But Hikaru goes rook to c5, putting a lot of pressure on this pawn.
Yeah, it's interesting that he chose that move instead of like rook h1, but okay, queen f6. So now is knight takes d4 a threat? And should we be playing, oh, I don't know, rook takes d5, I guess, comes to my mind, because then you have to calculate whether you can win that pawn on b7, which,
Right, yeah.
yeah, it's a big question.
Okay,
So we
Hikaru
traded.
Hikaru takes on g6 and takes on d5. I think also h6 would have made a lot of sense because, again, it would make black's king permanently weak. Now Noterback takes on d4. And I think he should be okay. If you take the pawn on b7, maybe like knight f5, attacking the bishop and the pawn on b2.
Or even
Queen
rook
a4,
b8,
tricky.
Yeah, even rook b8, rook b2 is an issue.
All right, Hikaru, 23 seconds against 10 seconds. The rook on e8 is hanging. I guess you go to d8 or to e7 defending this pawn. But what about a move like rook c1 now? Maybe going for a check over here?
Yep. Or, there is this queen a7, right? Where you just take the pawn and you're like, okay, where's your compensation? Because white's light squared bishop is amazing here. Okay,
Oh, and
he's gonna
that's
take
a
another one.
nasty check, because king h7, rook h1 is game over, rook e8, but now queen takes b7. Hikaru should win this game. He's up 2 pawns. I think he's getting full control over this game. Rook e8, queen
Queen
c4,
c4, yeah, nice.
and that should be it.
Yeah, now he's got the 2 extra pawns, total consolidation, and black is just completely on the defensive. So rook d1, yeah, push the knight out of his good position, and then maybe start pushing the pawns pretty soon. And he even has bishop d6 as an idea.
Yeah, he played bishop b4, a slight inaccuracy. He's giving up that pawn on b2. He can trade off the knight, which is always, nice to do in blitz to make sure that you never blunder any forks. This should be a win, practically speaking. I mean, Noterbeck's king is super weak. That being said, it's only 1 pawn, so Hikaru will still need to be accurate here.
Yeah, maybe we can just push it as high as we can up the board. a5. Oh, nice rook trade. That really helps white.
That should be it. Yeah, bishop c3, I think only move now. Bishop c7, king f8, ace5. Does black still keep the game going, or a5, king e7, and no, wait, I think you're not in time. It's game over.
Well, that's it. The pawn is promoting, right?
Exactly, yeah. Let's point this out real quick. Had black played the move king e7, we go a6, threatening to promote this pawn. In case black goes bishop d4, we go bishop b8, threatening a7. And we will always keep at least 1 pawn on the board. So Hikaru wins round number 2. Big win against the leader before this round.
That was a nice game overall, right? Like the whole opening concept. Then you got like the 2 bishops. I mean, his move c4 was actually the star move of the game. I think that was where he really posed some problems for Noterbeck. And then he got that slight edge, and his conversion was really good.
Indeed, yeah, amazing move by Hikaru, because with the move bishop to f8, Noterbeck wants to go g6 and bishop to g7, and he wants to meet h4 with h5. But again, that's why Hikaru played this move here, a bit of a prophylactical move. Again, because black wants to do this, h5 is not possible, that hangs a pawn. And so he got the pawn to h5, which always gave him an avenue on the king side. And at the end, the problems became a little bit too much for Noterbeck. And Hikaru won a fantastic game with the white pieces. So let's have a very quick look what happened in the other games.
All right, let's see. Oh, Magnus. Wait, another knight endgame for Magnus. That's pretty funny. So how is he doing here? He doesn't seem clear at all, actually. He's got the center pawns. He's about to lose the h pawn.
I would think this should be a draw. I mean, Gukesh is going to take this pawn on h2, and these pawns run down the board pretty quickly as well. I mean, you never know that maybe Magnus is going to take some... Wait, 93 takes... Maybe Magnus is going to take some risk and something's going to happen. But wait, what's going on? I think h3...
Black is winning?
How do you stop the pawns?
Well, black's pawns
knight f1 was winning at h2.
He's making a queen. Okay, well, I guess Gukesh is beating Magnus.
Wow. I think Magnus took the knight. Did he resign? What happened?
Wow.
Okay, we're getting no moves. I mean, he probably took the knight, or he resigned and moved his king to e4. But after king takes g4, queen e1, this looks completely lost, because your pawns are frozen. You have only a knight for the queen. So, again, it was a draw, but like I said, maybe Magnus is going to take risk, and who knows what's going to happen. But it looks like he probably lost.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like any more moves are coming in, yeah?
No, yeah. So I guess we're going to assume for now... Okay, wait, this game is still... Okay, moves are flying in.
Okay.
Do not go king e6. King d7 looks pretty safe, though.
There. I mean, I guess black still needs to figure out a way to win these pawns, but at some point white just runs out of moves because he has to move something, and that sort of ruins his setup, right? Like after king d7, you got to do something, but then you don't really want to move anything here actually as white, but every time you move something, kind of hurts your position in some way.
Exactly. Yeah, I assume that at some point you're going to run into some sort of zugzwang, like let's say go knight d4, queen here, knight f3. King e6 or something, and what exactly can you still move? That being said, I mean, you always have knight jumps, and these pawns are pretty close to promotion, but I'm sure that Gukesh, as talented as he is, should be able to win this one pretty easily. Moves are not coming through, so I guess we're just going to assume for now that Gukesh won. In the meantime, Shakhriyar Mamedyarov beat Fabiano with the black pieces, so he gets back to 50%. Wesley beats Ali Reza with the white pieces, so Wesley gets to 1.5, as well, while Alireza is on 50%. Anish beats Aryantari with the black pieces. So Anish is on 1.5 out of 2. And Aryan, he is on 0 points. So for Aryan to make it into the top half, it's already looking pretty tough.
All right, let's take a look at how Wesley beat Firouzja, because that's a big matchup.
Let's have a look. So this game started off as an Italian. Pretty quiet game so far. I mean, all the standard maneuvers. Let's just go quickly to the game, to the point where everything broke loose.
Okay.
This might even be some sort of a theory that the players are discussing here.
It's a big battle going on with the knights in the center.
Looks like Alireza is doing okay. I mean, Wesley's got the bishop pair, but these knights indeed are super active. Here's really where things get going. Okay, rook here.
He wants prepare f5, you know? Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Apparently knight f6 is crushing here for black. I guess queen f3, maybe knight h4.
Where are you? Okay.
Okay. I guess around here is where Firouzja's initiative comes to an end. And if he doesn't have anything, then maybe Wesley can take over.
Yeah, start using the bishop pair in the end game.
Exactly. Wesley also, and I think this move rook e6 is definitely an inaccuracy, because here you have a bunch of weaknesses on the queen side. Also, your king is a little bit stuck, and Wesley has very easy moves to bring his king to the middle. Yeah, this just looks like a very tough endgame in Blitz. You very often just lose these, and that's pretty much what
kind of nice how Wesley managed to turn this one around, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
It's a very good opening for him.
Yeah, no, he was definitely under some pressure out of the opening, but he managed to turn.
And look, he got himself an outside A pawn, just like Hikaru had.
Exactly, and we have Hikaru in the chat. We be trying. Okay, nice.
All
I
right,
guess he's on his phone. I guess. Oh, so I guess he's on his phone in between the rounds.
Nice maybe let him do that. Yeah.
Right. I guess Little John is there, who gives him his phone. But yeah, it's awesome to have him in the chat. All right, so let's have a very quick look. So who is Hikaru going to be playing? Oh, he's going to be playing Alireza in round number 3.
Nice. Okay, and he's going to be black. So what opening can we expect? I mean, Firouzja is mostly an e4 player, right?
Yes, I would think so, but Hikaru will respond with Berlin, so I don't know if Alireza really wants to go into that. He's a very aggressive player, but if your opponent plays a Berlin, then the game is not that aggressive anymore. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe something like knight f3, c4. The players like to mess around a little bit. We saw in round number 1 that Firouzja played the Jubava London against Tari. Maybe he's gonna pull that out of his head again.
Yeah, although he got such a bad position that he might not have an appetite for that anymore. Let's take a look at how Shahryar beat Fabi.
Yeah, let's do it.
We have a second. Yeah, I'm just because he's also one of the leaders here. It's a Petrov. Yeah, this
is the line that Alwander played against Fabiano at the US Championship.
That's right. That looks familiar.
As far as I remember, I thought that this line was always a little bit better for white. You want to go knight b5 or knight e4, and you get the bishop pair in a better structure. H4, apparently a big inaccuracy, because now after bishop g4, your king is kind of stuck in the center. Fabiano should have castled here, and after h4 loses a piece because of this. But h4 was played. Everything looking pretty even. But here's where he starts getting into some trouble. It's all a little bit loose. Oh, that's a nice tactic by Shek.
So he won a pawn.
You won a pawn? Yep.
Oh, and that was it. Then it was just a matter of converting that. Okay. Seeing a lot of endgames in these games, actually.
Yeah. Actually, it looked like a pretty good game from Shek. He won a pawn, and it seemed like he converted it pretty well. So definitely a high-level game, especially for a Blitz game.
Yeah, it feels like, this is the end of a 6-hour-long game, but it took place in like 3 minutes, right?
Oh, actually, this was a draw. So let's see where Fabiano went wrong, because we get into this king and pawn game. Okay. Ah, wait. Wait,
Should he
why
have
does he
put
not?
A5 and then B5?
No, but this is very basic. No, I mean you
Oh
get,
yeah, he should just go for this one. Get rid of all the pawns. Okay.
yeah, like black gets the queen, but you have the a pawn. So quite shocking that he didn't go for this. I don't
So
know
he went
what.
for B5. Let's see why that's so bad.
Well, black just queens, and you're too late.
Oh,
He
and he still gets stuck with the B pawn.
exactly, yeah. You have these double b pawns, but they're not going anywhere. And check,
Ah, and it's
yeah.
something. Yeah. Wow.
So, quick endgame lesson for everyone in the chat: if you have a pawn versus a queen, it is lost. If it is a b pawn or a c or sorry, a knight pawn or a center pawn. But if you have a rook pawn or a bishop pawn, it is a draw. So, for example, in this line right here, black is up a full queen for just a pawn, but this pawn is about to promote, and there's nothing black can do, because if you bring your queen closer, then eventually it's gonna end in a stalemate right here. There's no way to improve. So quite shocking that Fabiana did not go for this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he thought maybe with the two B pawns that like he was making a draw there, you know? Maybe he thought that
Yeah,
like Black's queen could like, was being stymied by those pawns, but yeah, so he was close to making a draw, but a nice win by Mamedyarov nonetheless. So are we close to the next round starting, Benjamin?
I assume so. Yeah, I just remember an old quote from Magnus Carlsen. He said something like, "When the time is low and the heart rate is up, common sense goes out of the window." And maybe that's what happened here. I mean, we've all been there. We've all made terrible mistakes with
Oh
just a
yeah.
couple seconds on the clock. Anish wins his game. All right, so
We didn't actually we didn't look at Magnus's game, like the beginning of it. It's just we saw that crazy night end game, but how did it start?
all right, so this started out as
Kind of
one
went
b
into Kim in
three.
English.
Yeah, looks pretty all right so far. Okay. Looks
Looks like a
like
very fun opening.
I think Gugish has a very acceptable position out of the opening. He's got a lot of space. That being said, I mean, all the pieces are on the board, so I think Magnus was not too unhappy. But yeah, definitely a big result for Gukesh, because he is traditionally not really a blitz player, but he's really upped his game in the last couple of months. I think he also won one of those Armageddon series in Berlin. So yeah, he's definitely upped his game in blitz.
Yeah, I mean, Magnus tried to do a very creative opening. Of course, like that's why he's stuck with this knight on h3 and, the backwards pawn on d2, right? So yeah, he didn't exactly get a dream position.
Okay, and games have started. Let's pull it up.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a Berlin between Alireza and Firouzja. So let's recap the first moves real quick. So Berlin, d3, bishop c5, c3, castles, d5. Hikaru actually had this in the candidates against Temur Rajab, a game he lost, and here he improves with the move knight b8. In that game, he played the move knight a7.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I kind of know a little bit about this position because we saw one game like this at the World Championship in Astana. They had one game that was exactly this structure. One of the games at the later stage of the match. All right, so knight f1, and are we going to be playing c6 here, I guess, is a question.
That's always indeed the question, how black is going to reposition his pieces. Because with the move knight b8, black very often can go for knight bd7, and then let's say b6 and bishop b7. I feel like generally this position is around even, but it's a little bit easier to play for white. And that's also kind of what we saw in the World Championship match between Jan and Ding. We see this move knight g4 by Hikaru. Very direct approach. And maybe he wants to get a quick f5 in?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's also just like aware that white can go knight g3, knight f5. I wonder, I mean, on bishop takes, you're definitely taking with the queen, and you're getting that queen out of that knight f5 tempo. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting the inclusion of knight g4, rook e2, like why he thinks it's helpful to him. But I
Well,
suppose,
well, I think the point is you cannot play bishop b6 right away because you hang the pawn on e5.
Ah, that's the point. Okay, well, now we get why knight g4 is played. Yeah. So I think it makes a lot of sense to try to trade these light squared bishops, given how good white's bishop was. And okay, now the most obvious move is like knight d7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a nice plan for Hikaru could be, let's say, knight d7 or knight a6. Like, let's say you go knight d7, followed by rook to d8, bishop f8, and knight c5, because then maybe you can hop into b3 with your knight
Nice.
or with your queen. The position really should be around even. We see Hikaru starting with move rook to d8, because this bishop on c5, I mean, the pawns are on a like Hikaru's pawn is on a dark square, right? So maybe you would think that Firouzja's bishop is a little bit better, but his bishop is a little bit passive over here. Like if he goes,
Yeah.
well, I was gonna say if it goes to e3, it's always gonna get traded off, but now he can just develop it over here.
Yeah, I mean, he's going for your plan. Yeah, he's pulling this bishop back to f8. It's going to give him sometimes ideas of g6 if he wants to challenge that knight. I mean, for now, he's going to play knight d7. I mean, he's not going to let that bishop in to b6, I don't think. Knight d7, maybe even like king h7 and g6 at some point and try to force that knight out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense as well. Yeah, I like the move knight d7 followed by knight to c5. You put pressure on the pawn on e4. Again, there's the move queen b3 or maybe knight b3 to make sense. So in case that knight lands on c5, maybe Firouzja has to consider trading his bishop off. So let's see what Hikaru is going to do. He's down quite a bit on the clock. He's down 40 seconds.
Wow. Okay. Well, he played knight d7. At least his position is very comfortable. Has a lot of ideas. I really like his queen on e6. I mean, that is a really nicely centralized queen that has a lot of access to squares on the diagonal. In general, centralization is a powerful concept in chess, and black is well centralized here. And I think at some point he will, try to challenge that knight away from f5. But yeah, black has like a multitude of nice plans here.
Wow, and we see the move g4 by Firouzja. Wow, what a move. So now the move knight c5 to me makes a lot of sense. I wonder how Firouzja is planning to defend that pawn. Also, an important tactical point was that in case white did not play the move g4, there are ideas of taking, and even if you recapture with rook, that knight can be hanged. But he goes knight to g3. To me, it just looks like he's going backwards. And what about, let's say, rook d7, rook 88 here? It feels like, if anything, Hikaru should be for choice. But the one thing I don't like is that he's down 30 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, well, he also has to deal with his g5 idea, right? I mean, so he's kind of dealing with it in some way by moving his queen away, offering up a trade, which white, I think, has to accept because, I mean, you can't, the queen trade is going to happen because white's queen can't really avoid it. You're not going to go backwards here. So if knight takes e5, yeah, queen trade, and then we take on e4, okay, black is comfortable there too.
Yeah, should be fine for Hikaru. So Firouzja is now in the tank. He can also take on c5 first, but then we take on c2 and then take on c5. And in case of knight takes c5, there's bishop 2d6 attacking the knight, and if the knight moves, you can take the knight on g3 and take the pawn on e4. So time is evened up now. Hikaru is up a little bit. He's up like 10 seconds. So let's see what... Oh, and he takes the pawn on e5.
Okay, so right now, I guess the most likely result is a draw. Black does have this pawn on a5 on a dark square, which is something you want to pay attention to when you're in a bishop endgame. I don't know if that's going to make a big difference.
Right,
But it looks like it ended the game, actually.
Yeah, the game has ended in a draw. I know that in the classical games, they're not allowed to offer draws, but I guess in the Blitz tournament, it is fine. The game is very symmetrical. Not a bad result at all for Hikaru. He gets a tough black game out of the way. And not a bad result for Firouzja either. He draws one of the best Blitz players. So let's have a look at some of the other games. Now we have a chance to... Oh, Magnus is in trouble again. He's down a minute on the clock, and Mamedyar's up a pawn.
All right, so he's got 11 seconds, Magnus. Wow, not a great situation on the clock. And on the board also, his king is pretty open.
So let's see what Czech is going to do. You can take an e5 because then your knight can swing in either to d4 or to f4. It is not easy, though, because you have these double pawns. Your king also is a little bit exposed, but this is definitely Czech's game to win. So let's see if he can pull it off. We see pawn takes knight takes c5. So now is the big question. Is he going to go knight d4 or knight f4? I mean, in case of knight f4, maybe knight g4 is something that could be annoying.
Knight g4, and you're going to hit this e3 pawn. And what checks do I even have there? I mean, I have pawn g6, actually. Looks a bit dangerous, right?
The computer's saying your only move is d4. I guess knight g4, maybe even queen b6 Magnus king e8 with a couple seconds on the clock. This
Okay,
like g6.
just keep going with that pawn. I mean, just put all your faith in that pawn.
Exactly. Yeah. How Magnus got 4 seconds. Knight g4.
You kind of
Check and
now,
push.
g7. Sort of
Because
the
I don't
obvious thing.
see.
Probably
I don't
what I
see a
would
single.
do. I would just go
I don't see.
g7 and I wouldn't calculate too much. I'd let my opponent calculate that one.
I don't see a single way for Magnus to get a check-in on the back rank, and he
Wow.
loses either by resignation or on time. But a big win for Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, who takes down the world champion.
Yeah.
And Irina, what do you think? Like Magnus, he clearly has been dabbling in some other hobbies as well. He's been playing some poker. He said openly that he has not been studying a whole lot of chess.
Yeah.
Do you think his results, his result right here is a result of that?
Yeah, I mean, okay, we don't always, we don't usually see Magnus having 2 back-to-back losses like this, right? And I think he might have only half a point out of 3, and losing, to Gukesh and now to Mamed. Yeah, he can't be too happy about that. On the other hand, I was watching him play the Superbet Classic right in Poland, and I have to say, I mean, at some point he went on the 7-game winning streak in the Blitz. It was so good. I haven't finished the whole streak because I wanted to really watch it game by game, but it was a very impressive way that he was beating all these top players game after game. So I think, I suppose that when you start doing other things, you lose a little bit of consistency, but I think overall, he's still capable of some like amazing results, right? So yeah, just it's like the consistency is what's lost,
Indeed, yeah. And in the meantime, we have this game, the last game of the round, that's still going on between Noorderbeck and Fabiano Caruana. Noorderbeck up a pawn, but his king is a little bit exposed. So let's see if Fabiano can hold this one. But yeah, at some point, Magnus, he scored something. He had an insane streak. It was something like 10.5 out of 11. Like he won a lot. Like he almost adopted the field, I remember.
What do we think is going on in this position? It's pretty crazy. White's up a pawn, but the king is weak. I mean, it's not the most easy pawn to convert, although queen e6 kind of takes some of the pressure off white. Can we go, I don't know, rook g5, take on c5 at some point? Or
that's a nice move. He wants to go rook g8 and go for a checkmate.
Okay.
Or
is it going to be a checkmate? I guess it will be. Like if queen e1.
Oh, but c3. Oh, Noorderbeck lost on time? What?
Wow.
Or what happened?
Lost on time. No, I think Noorderbeck won on time. It's Fabi.
Oh, Fabi. Oh.
Right.
Well, we don't have any live camera, so I guess we'll just trust the results. It seems like Noorderbeck won on time. Yeah, what a shocking result. So Noorderbeck, I think he gets to 2 out of 3. Gets an A+ score again. So let's see if we can quickly figure out what is going on over here. Okay, so Shakhriyar Mamedyarov is leading the tournament with 2.5 out of 3. Then we have Wesley, Hikaru, and Anish on 2 points out of 3 games. And then we have Noorderbeck and Firouzja on 50%. Tari won his first game of the tournament. He defeated Gukesh with the black pieces, so he gets 1 point. And Fabiano and Gukesh are on 1 point as well. And Magnus, he's in last place with 0.5 point out of 3. And we've said it before, Irina, you have to score, you have to finish in the top half to get an extra white game. And I think to get there, you need at least +1 usually. So Magnus has got his work cut out for him. He's got to win at least two or three games.
Yeah, and I mean, Mamedyarov is looking really good right now. Yeah, 2.5 points. He just beat Magnus. Who else did he beat along the way? I can't remember who it was in the last round. It was
he beat. Wait, but didn't Mamedyarov lose the first game to Noorderbeck? Or
no,
did I get that wrong?
He didn't. He didn't, because he didn't lose any games. He's got 2.5. He drew somebody, and then he won a round. I'm pretty sure he won 2 in a row.
Well, it's a little bit odd. Like the game we looked at, it looked like Noorderbeck won, but now it's saying a draw. So maybe the results are not correctly reported.
Okay.
Because I thought Noorderbeck was on 2 points out of 3. So hopefully we can pull it up soon. We're getting word that there's no break in between rounds, so we'll just keep going fast and furious. All right, so I don't know what the settings are, whether Shaq is on 2.5 or if he's on 2, and whether Noorderbeck is on 1.5 or 2 points. But again, Magnus, he's gonna have to win some games. I think he's gonna have to win He's gonna have to come back to at least +1. I think 50% is very likely not going to be enough to get that extra white game.
Well, there's 6 more games remaining, so I think he still has, a lot of chances. And certainly going by how he did in Poland recently, I wouldn't give up on him at all. I mean, when he is in the zone, he is like unstoppable, right? So I think, he's not going to enjoy this half a point out of 3. And I mean, we might see a very angry Magnus in the upcoming games.
For sure, yeah. But the thing about Blitz is that it often depends on your form on that specific day.
Mhm.
And it seems like the form is off, and
Mhm.
then it's very difficult to fix that. So we'll see what he's going to do. Like you said, he's going to come in with vengeance. In the meantime, we're getting ready for round number 4, the game between Hikaru Nakamura and Fabiano Caruana. I definitely expect a big fight in this one. What do you think, Arena?
Yeah, well, I expect a big fight in every game that Hikaru is playing. He's one of the best blitz players in the world. I think he's confident when he sits down against anybody that he can beat them. So, he's looking pretty good today. And now he's got the white pieces. So, is this going to be the moment where he goes for his beloved B3 setups?
Yeah, so let's see what he's gonna do. I think it's definitely possible that he's gonna play something like knight f3 followed by b3 or e3. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what is gonna happen. I don't think he will play e4. Fabiano's very well booked up in all of the real Lopez's. So I think, like I said, he's gonna steer the game away from theory with something like knight f3 followed by b3.
Yeah, knight f3 followed by b3 or followed by e3. I mean, I would also guess that he's not going to go e4. I just don't see why he would do that against Fabi. So, yeah, it's pretty principled matchups of the 2 best American players.
For sure. And okay, we see the arbiter setting up the starting position there. All right, adjusting the pieces. So I assume the next round is going to start very, very soon. Or is it going to start on top of the hour? Yeah, we don't have any schedule. Usually in Blitz tournaments, there's a couple minutes break, but you just keep going.
Well,
right?
do you want to take a look at some of the other games, and like we can keep an eye on the camera, and when the players sit down, we can just come back to that.
For sure, yeah. Let's
take a look at how Magnus actually played that game against Mehmed, because we only saw the part where he was doing badly, but how was it when he was actually doing pretty well earlier on? Let's see.
So this game started off as a Slav exchange.
Nice. That's something actually I play a lot of as white.
So it's it's also an opening I play. Bishop d6. Yeah. And here he goes for the move g5. Very aggressive approach.
Yeah.
But you get this slightly better pawn structure. But with the queens on the board, white will have some attacking chances on this open f-file. So I think Shaq really shouldn't be too concerned here. I think he might have actually been happy that Magnus went for this.
Oh yeah, that was a really risky decision by Magnus, because I mean that f-file play, I mean, he just basically gave him a pretty nice initiative with that.
Oh, and here he's just losing a pawn, because look at this. After takes, if you take with the king, you lose his pawn on h6. He took the queen, but now you lose the g pawn. And this position, to me, it looks like it's technically lost. I mean, you give a check, you have the g pawn, you can always swing the knight around, and with 28 seconds against 133, you're just going to lose. You're just going to lose like 90% of the time.
Yeah, this was very hard for him to pull out. Knight e2 was a nice move, and then he just brought the knight to f4, and yeah, we saw that g pawn basically promote. Okay, well, g5. I mean, he lost because he was a little bit over ambitious and chose a very risky move there.
Yeah, so let's pull up round number 4. Just want to make sure that we catch the start of the games. I guess it's going to start very, very soon. So let's see. It hasn't started just yet.
So wait, let's make some estimates of how many points Magnus is going to get today. So right now he's got half out of 3. There's 6 more games.
I'm going to say that Magnus will finish on 50%.
You think 50%? So you think he's going to get 4.5?
Yeah. What do you think?
Right. I'm going to say he's going to get 5.5.
So he's going to win
5 out of 6. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's
we'll see, just for fun, make some guesses. Why not? Of course, some it's not easy for him. It's not easy, but you know, we ought to make it interesting.
And we have some Magnus believers in the chat thinking he will finish on 6.5 out of 9, so that he will win his last 6 games. I think it's definitely not out of the question. Again, he probably is still the best player in the world, so he can stack up one win after another when he's on a roll. I think it really just depends on the next game. If he can shake off this last game and pull himself together, get a win on the board, he can easily start winning a bunch of games in a row. But if the next game will also be a struggle for him, if he loses or if he draws, then he might get a bit stuck in the mud, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot is going to depend on this next game. But you see, I mean, we can see that he lost to Mamedyarov, not exactly, you know, just getting outplayed, but playing in a quite risky way to open up that chance for Mamedyarov to then beat him, right? So maybe that's a little bit of an issue, that he's over ambitious and giving his opponents a lot of chances.
Right. Yeah. So the players are getting ready. I guess we're gonna start on top of the hour, so in 2 minutes.
Yeah, Fabi's got a short haircut these days. I guess we're getting ready for summer.
Exactly. Yeah, looking nice. All right, so both players are at the board. I assume, again, we're going to start on top of the hour, so in like 40 seconds. So what was your prediction? You expected some
knight
of three?
Yeah, knight of 3, and then like, yeah, either b3 or e3.
I think so too. I think he's going to start with the move knight of 3.
You know, by the way, Benjamin, this is my first time doing commentary since the World Championship match. It's pretty exciting to be back.
Oh, awesome. So yeah, maybe you can tell us real quick, like, how was that experience over there?
It was awesome. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It was quite a treat, actually, to just for your job to be like a firsthand witness of a World Championship match for just 3 weeks. You know, because if I was sitting at home, it would just be a completely different experience. Like, even if you're watching the games, like, you're never going to get up at like 5 in the morning and follow all their moves, right? But like, when that's your job, to just be there with the players, it's amazing. So yeah, we can talk about that later. Is Hikaru playing the Trompowsky?
All right, awesome. And we are off. So again, the Trompowsky on the board, bishop g5. So let's see what Fabiano is going to do. c5 is really the main move, or it's Hikaru's move. And he goes for knight of 3 again. He also did that against Firouzja. Now I think Black can just play c5 anyway. Just go into, which is what you also do against e3. So let's see what Hikaru's got up his sleeve. But again, we have to move 94. This is also what Noterbeck played against Hikaru in round number 2.
Yes, this was, so I guess that's what he's got prepared for this Blitz tournament. So he'll probably be playing like knight bd2 here. e3, okay, he starts with that. c5 and knight bd2. Is that exactly the same position? No, okay, now it's going in some different way.
So bishop to d6. Fabiano offering the trade of bishops. Let's see how Hikaru is going to deal with this. He takes on d6. Fabiano captures. Looking very even so far. I mean, Fabiano's got a nice knight on e4. That's not easy to get rid of. Maybe takes on c4 and develop with someone like knight d7 or knight c6. I mean, I think Fabiano's got a very decent position out of the opening. Doesn't look like he has any issues whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we're kind of in an exchange Slav type of position. I mean, Black's knight on e4 is looking pretty active, and I mean, I suppose, okay, the card decides to trade it. But yeah, doesn't seem to be much here. What does he want to do? Like knight d2, knight b3, try to go to c5, but then there's always b6. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So we saw knight c3 by Hikaru. I think if Fabiano wanted, he could take an f3, and the position is very dry. But with the move bishop g6, he's showing that he's a little bit ambitious. I think Black can make the case that this bishop is better than one of White's knights. And it's actually very interesting. I feel like, let's say Black would have one bishop against a knight, it should be even. But maybe with a knight and bishop against 2 knights, Black has a slight advantage, because these 2 knights will often be stepping on each other's toes. It's difficult to have both of the knights be active. And I think the knight and the bishop can nicely work together. So what do you make of this position, Irina?
Well, I mean, one of Black's ideas could be like knight a5, but then I suppose White would probably play b3 to keep that knight out. Okay, and bishop h5 is a very solid move. I mean, that's always nice that Black has this in the bag, because I was going to say that the bishop is not like the light squared bishop is not amazing, and he might just at some point decide to get rid of it. So Hikaru will probably play like h3 here. And, then Fabiano wants to think about whether white will play g4 or not. Does he want to make this trade? Or does he want to provoke white to play g4? He probably wants to provoke white to play g4 to get some more chances.
I think so too, because we saw that game between Shaq and Magnus how g4 really backfired for Magnus with the colors reversed. So Fabiano keeps attention. He goes queen to d6. Hikaru goes rook to d1. Again, I think Fabiano's got a very, very slight pull here. It's difficult for white to come up with a plan. You're pinned over here, so you cannot move your knight. You cannot move your queen. G4 is not fantastic. Moving this knight doesn't really seem to achieve much. So definitely an easier position to play for Fabiano, and he's up 40 seconds on the clock.
Yeah. This is not a dream for Hikaru. Like, he doesn't even have a chance to get his knight to e5, and it's now he's going knight b1 to go knight d2 and kind of get out of the pin. So he's basically kind of scrimmaging, I think, for equality here. And yeah, I mean, the opening was not the most successful.
Exactly. And I like what Fabiano did here. The moment Hikaru moved his knight from c3, Fabiano doubles on the c file because now it's easier for him to take advantage of that. We see the move queen f1 by Hikaru getting out of the pin, but your knight is still pinned because your rook is behind. So maybe something like queen b4, attacking this pawn over here, or moving the knight, trying to infiltrate through the c file. I assume that in case Fabiano moves the knight, Hikaru wants to take, and after rook takes, he now has the move rook to c1. And we have the move knight a5. Definitely some pressure from
So
Fabiano.
how about just a bunch of trades? Rook c7. Oh, maybe there's queen c7, and you are kind of giving up the c file. Well, that's problematic. Queen c7.
But now
yeah.
might not be a bad time to go for, let's say, g4 and knight e5, because you're threatened to take the bishop and ruin black's pawn structure, but you can just go bishop h7. So a difficult position that Hikaru finds himself in. If Fabiano gets a move, he will go queen to c2, and then all of a sudden Hikaru's queenside will start hanging.
Yeah, it's amazing how poorly this opening has worked out, where black just gets such a comfortable game. Okay, so Hikaru, his plan on queen c2 is what? It's like rook e1, I guess. Rook e1 and kind of save that rook and hope that his attack on the a5 knight is going to provide some counterplay. But I mean, yeah, queen c2 seems like very natural, but okay, he goes b6, rook e1.
Yeah, clever move by Fabiano, protecting the knight first, so he can always move the queen later. And I like the move by Hikaru, rook to e1, making sure that queen c2 no longer comes with a tempo. I think Hikaru is definitely looking at moves like g4, again, followed by knight e5, so Fabiano could consider f6. He goes for queen to b7. I think he wants to go rook to c2 and keep his queen closer to his king for the defense.
Yeah. Okay, knight e5, I like that. I don't know if he should have played g4 first and then knight e5, but I mean, in general, it's nice to play an active move. Of course, after f6, you're going to be kind of forced back. And also bishop e8 could be an idea there for black. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, knight e5, okay, maybe wasn't
but now it feels like Hikaru is getting out of the woods. I think this knight trade is definitely in his favor. Then he can also try to trade the rooks off. I mean, Fabiano can take with the pawn, but the nice thing about the move 95 is that now Fabiano's kingside is becoming a little bit soft. Look at these pawns. They're all becoming a little bit weak. The knight starts jumping. I think this has definitely been a good transformation for Hikaru. And his king on g1 is definitely safer than Fabiano's king on g8.
Yeah, because what happened with the c pawn is like now black c pawn is actually blocking the c file, so white doesn't have to worry about any infiltrations. And yeah, I mean, the knight on f4 is solid, and basically white just is like the pressure is off once they don't have to worry about the invasion on the c file.
Exactly. So queen c6 by Fabiano. Maybe he wanted to get the move c3 in, but knight e2, nice move. I think Hikaru wants to go knight c3 and maybe create some sort of passer in the center. Rook c1, tricky move. Again, this move a4 was really clever because it makes it difficult for black to get in the move b5 and defend that pawn. Knight f4, I think he's going to go bishop back. Will we see a repetition maybe?
Well, I mean, Hikaru, okay, so Fabi plays bishop f5. I mean, I feel like Hikaru might be feeling like this is his chance, like the time situation is kind of tricky, and he generally, I think, is like more confident on those last seconds than Fabi. So this is the kind of position he can work with. It doesn't really matter like what's the objective evaluation.
Exactly. So b3, the position is sharpening up queen a5, attacking this pawn over here. The c pawn is pinned because that will hang the rook. Queen d7 by Fabiano to defend. Maybe take and then swing that knight around to c3, where it will always be a nice blockader. And that's what he does.
Oh, he goes back. Does he want to? He doesn't want to put the knight on c3. Oh, okay, f3.
F3. Where does the bishop go? Maybe bishop f5, but then oh wait, e4 hangs the pawn. Never mind. It goes all the way back to h7, but okay, queen
c6 maybe to defend the pawn, and
but then maybe e4 and d5
or something. Yeah, okay. So it's a pretty crazy position still, and they have no time, so it's going to be wild.
All right, knight e2 play. He maybe should have taken here first, because now bishop d3, if you move the knight, you hang the pawn on d4.
Yeah.
Wait, how do you hold this together? Maybe
this is tough. This is tough. This has not gone well. But
right.
I guess after bishop takes e2, king e2, pawn d4, rook c4. Oh, okay. So it's all right. He's still holding it. Okay, now he wants to make it safe. But
queen a7, tricky move. He's okay. Queen d5. This bishop over here, by the way, very nice piece because it's also stopping white from checking. Maybe now e4.
Knight e6, you start getting some 4 maybe.
2 seconds. It's got to move. A rook e1 played. Looks a little bit passive.
Yeah, but I guess that pawn needed to be protected. Wow. Okay.
Oh, did Hikaru lose on time?
Well, is it Hikaru or is it his opponent?
I think Hikaru lost on time.
Lost. Oh man. Oh.
Ouch, that's tough. Yeah, we looked at the video.
We see very often. Yeah, I see. Hikaru losing on time. Wow. He didn't make
that's tough. Yeah, he made his move just a little bit too slow, and he lost on time. So now he's down to 50%. He's gonna have to win some games to come back. But I think right here, why not the very natural move e4? I think the thing is, he wanted to go e4. Then there was something that concerned him, and at the last second he changed his mind, played rook d1, but was just a little bit too late.
Yeah. So this rook e1 move, he just didn't quite make it on time. Yeah. I mean, the position was still completely unclear. And I mean, it was a very tense game. I would say very exciting. So that drops Hikaru back to, is it 50%?
Yes, he is down to 50%.
Okay.
People are calling for the VAR, but if your clock is showing 0, it's hard to argue that you didn't lose on time. But yeah, I mean, maybe after e4 he was concerned about rook to d8. I think it's this. I think it's the move rook d8, attacking the queen, and then you have knight c6, but everything is kind of loose. There's also queen a3. I think at the last second this concerned him, and that's why he switched to rook e1, but was just a little bit too late.
Let's see how Magnus is doing. Should we take a look? We were wondering if he was going to start his comeback.
Let's have and he did. He beat Noterbeck with the white pieces. Nice. He's coming in.
See, an angry Magnus is a dangerous Magnus. All right, got a queen's gambit. Yeah, this bishop e6 line is quite popular.
All right, both players playing quickly. They had something very similar in the World Blitz Championship a couple of years ago, where it's that game that Magnus loses his cool on YouTube. Do you know that one?
No.
Where he is winning, but then he blunders a pawn, and he's like, he's upset.
I might have seen that. Okay, yeah, I've certainly seen Magnus do that before. Yeah.
Around here, it starts getting very tricky for Noterbeck because the bishop is in a bit of a pickle. H3 is coming. Well, now here, and there's not a good way to defend this knight, and now you're facing a very tough attack. Oh. That's a nasty move. So, yeah, Magnus very nicely putting all the tactics together and blowing Noterbeck off the board with a very convincing win. He gets back to -1. Oh, wait. But this...
Yeah, it's pretty, there's knight f6, right? Like...
Well, there is, but it throws away a big part of the advantage. Because, I mean, yes, you're winning.
You just want it to be fancy.
I guess so, yeah. Noterbeck played here. But now he's down a full rook. So, okay, Magnus gets back into the tournament.
Yeah, Benjamin. So we're going to go on a quick break, as we're almost the halfway point of the tournament. And we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes, guys.
My hands on myself. Pick out dust them off, put them back up on the shelf. Kiss my little baby girl is in need. Am I coming out of left field? Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. I've been feeling it since 1966 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Got another mouth to feed. Leaving with the babies till the mama call the grave digger. Gone with the falling leaves. Am I coming out of left field? Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. I've been feeling it since 1966 now. Might have had your fill, but I feel it still. Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. Might be over now, I feel it still. We could fight a war for peace. Giving to that easy living, goodbye to my hopes and dreams. Stop flipping for my enemies. We could wait until the walls come down. It's time to give a little to the kids in the middle. Oh, till it falls, won't bother me. Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks. Yeah, your love is an abyss for my heart to eclipse now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. I've been feeling it since 1966 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Might have had your fill, but I feel it still.
I came to dance, 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 dance. I hit the floor cause that's my plans, 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 plans. I'm wearing all my favorite brands, 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 brands. Give me some space for both my hands, 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 hands. You, cause it goes on and on and on. And it goes on and on and on. Yeah, I throw my hands up in the air sometimes, saying, ayo, gotta let go. I wanna celebrate and live crew. I'm in the club, so I'm gonna do just what the folk came here to do. Yeah, 'cause it goes on and on and on, and it goes on and on and on. Yeah, I throw my hands up in the air sometimes, saying, ayo, gotta let go. I wanna celebrate and live my life, saying, ayo, baby, let's go. 'Cause we gon' rock this club, we gon' go all night, we gon' light it up like it's dynamite. 'Cause I told you once, now I told you twice, we gon' light it up like it's dynamite. I'm gonna take it all.
Hey guys, we're back with the Norway Blitz tournament. We're going to see who is going to claim those top spots that are going to give them more whites in the classical portion of the event. And right now, Hikaru is gearing up to play Anish Giri. He's got 50% score. He just lost a kind of topsy-turvy game to Fabiano Caruana. And now he's playing Anish, who also has 2 out of 4.
Yeah, so big game for both players. Again, you want to make it into the top half of the standings. As we see, Giri and Hikaru are right now in the top half, but just but not by a big margin. So getting a win here will be very nice for both players. So let's see what Giri is going to play. I think he will play E4, or do you think he's going to play D4, Irina?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I don't know the history of their matchup so well. I would say E4 is quite likely. He does seem to be more of an E4 player. So I'm thinking he's going to stick with that. And of course, we got one player who's on fire today. That's Shahryar Mamedyarov, who's already beaten Magnus Carlsen. He's got 3.5. And what does he go for? He goes for, I think, D4. Yeah, okay.
Indeed.
He's
And again,
letting Hikaru play the Bogo Indian again.
yes, so we have the same opening from round 1. G3 by Anish going back into the kettle. And a bit of a surprise. A3 is definitely the main move here. So let's see what Hikaru is going to do. B6, very logical. Bishop to B7. And now I guess he has a lot of choice. And go for setups. He just takes voluntarily on D2. That's a little bit surprising because often you wait for white to play A3. He plans bishop 24, and I guess he wants to go D6 and knight B7.
Yeah, okay. Seems like quite a solid position. I guess in these positions, sometimes white plays like bishop H3 so they can move their knight away to E1 without trading and then trying to play F3. Let's see if he does that plan at any point in this game.
Yeah, we'll see rook C1 by Giri, now D6 by Hikaru. And bishop to G5 doesn't really seem to do that much. I think you just go knight B7 so you can recapture with the knight on 6. And to be honest, these last couple of moves tell me that Giri wants to play it very safe.
Yes. Yeah, he's made no effort to keep his bishop pair. He's kind of trading pieces. And now Hikaru just has a really solid position. I mean, I would play H6, yeah. Wow, and just really no trouble here because it doesn't matter that white has a bit of a space advantage when all the pieces have been traded. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right that Giri's overall approach has been more geared towards solidity. Now I wonder, is Hikaru gonna trade the queens or not? Because is he gonna go like queen E7, but then lets the queen come into C6 maybe? But he actually, okay, he's thinking, and he did it. Yes, okay. So that shows a bit more ambition from Hikaru, right?
Yeah, and I think definitely if he wanted to make a draw over here, he would have just traded on D4 or on F3. But this tells me that Hikaru definitely wants to play for the win. Although this queen on C6 is pretty annoying, and I'd assume the way to get rid of it is to play queen E7 at some point. And Anish goes knight E4. He's
but now
really
he can say he can play F5 maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, there's really no material on the board. I mean, I think there's nothing to be done in this game. I think this game is just going to end in a draw.
Also, black needs to watch out for C5 because I think Anish will probably want to like push that move in if he can. And so now the question is, does he go queen D5 check or queen C6? And he goes for queen C6. Okay. I mean, there's still some play left, but again, I think black's main idea is like white's main idea is like the C5 move if he can do it. Although if he does it, we can play BC, DC, and D5.
All right, so Anish captures on E5. So how do we recapture? Do we take the pawn? Hikaru takes with the queen. And now I wonder, in case Anish plays B3, I mean, you have queen E4, but the pawn on E4 is also a bit of a weakness. This really should be equal, but I'm curious to see whether Hikaru can create anything here, or again, if the game is just going to end in a draw. Now, for the moment, Giri has to figure out how he's going to respond to this one. I think I like the move b4 to prepare the move c5.
Yeah, I mean, still on c5, we can take BC, and d5, I suppose, is an option. But one thing that Hikaru is like, he can't really push the f pawn anymore. So this f5 pawn is kind of stuck there. And white's very solid. So I still feel like, okay, maybe black needs to come up with like a good plan here. Maybe white wants to play queen e4 at some point. Sorry, black wants to play queen e4, maybe get that queen trade and change the pawn structure.
Right, but if he wants to go into the endgame, the move king h8 does not really help with that because he just moved his king further away from the center. I think at some point he's got to take here on b4 and then maybe rook f8. But Giri is really, I mean, what about move c5 now? If anything, white is a very slight pull, no?
I agree. I mean, he's just really solid. And like we said, you know, as long if you double up your rooks behind the f pawn, but you can't actually push it, that's a problem. And I mean, Hikaru's doing his best to kind of like keep the equilibrium here, but obviously it's a lot easier for white to play.
Yeah, so let's see. Anish's queen is under attack. He can go to a lot of squares. d7, d5 looks very solid. Maybe now a check on e4. We will see queen trade and then something like rook d2 defending the pawn. Again, probably a draw. If anything, though, all of white's pawns are nicely connected, and he's trying to chip away black's pawn structure on the queen side. So Hikaru will have to be a little bit accurate here to make the draw.
Yeah, so we're, I mean, probably going to be seeing a queen trade right now. The question is he going to just do it and play like rook c6, or is he going to play queen e4? Okay, he went c6. Oh, interesting. So he wants to go b5 next, I guess.
Yeah, and there we have b5 on the board. Okay, rook a1 by Giri. He wants to go rook to a7. I'm a little bit surprised that Hikaru didn't choose to trade off one pair of rooks. He went rook e8, but now after rook a7, you have to sit passively with rook g6. I assume his idea is to go rook e5, but I don't know. It seems a little bit risky.
I guess on h4, he's just going to go h5, and he's saying, okay, my rook handles everything, and then I'm going to go rook e5, and he needs to make sure that nothing bad even happens to him on the back rank if white's rooks kind of try attacking from there.
Yeah, it definitely looks like an unpleasant endgame. h4 played by Giri. Now, here you got to play h5, I assume, because if you allow h5 from white, your rook is going to get really stuck over there. And there we have it, h5 on the board. Definitely not an easy endgame at all. Rook c7, I think maybe Anish wants to go for rook d6, trade one pair of rooks off, and then go after the pawn on c6. But maybe Hikaru can just sit with rook e6.
Yeah, rook c7 was a clever move. Yeah, it's basically like a prophylaxis against rook e5. And yeah, Hikaru decides to just hold that pawn. I mean, I think it's like, it seems holdable enough, this position, but now he's not going to be able to move too much, right? He's just going to have to go like king h7 and king h8 or something.
Exactly. And we'll see king f3 by Giri, king h7. You can go king f4, but I guess I might run into a check. So Anish goes king e2, but now rook e5. Wait. All of a sudden, he allowed
it's protected on g6 because the rook's protected on g6.
Yes, and actually now the question is, how does Anish make a very clean draw? I don't see an immediate way to do so. He goes for rook d8 and rook c8, but now you move the rook and black is up a pawn. So can Hikaru pull off a win anyway?
I mean, I think, yeah, Anish misplayed it a bit. He kind of forgot about that king h7 move, that it wasn't just wasting time. It was actually protecting the rook. And now, well, I mean, okay. I mean, Hikaru is definitely comfortable. Like, I don't see anything bad happening to him. And it's only a question of whether, I don't know, Anish can figure out a way to make a draw here.
Yeah, and I think Hikaru's definitely got chances to win this one. The evil bar is still showing equality because black is so active, but you're going to have to be accurate here with white. And maybe now you can activate this rook. Let's see what Hikaru is going to do. I mean, he does have two protected passers on the queen side, and Anish doesn't really have that much going for him on the queen side.
The issue is that, like, he has to hold his c pawn, but white can also target his g pawn, right? So like white is gonna kind of have his rook on c7, give a check, try to attack g7 and c6. So I guess that's why the game is balanced for now.
All right, so rook to c4, rook c7 played by Anish. I think he wants to double up and go after the g7 pawn. So we see king h7 by Hikaru. Maybe he wants to go rook g4 and defend.
Yeah, and then you can just go. Oh, interesting move by Anish. He's stopping rook g4. That's pretty pretty interesting. And so now, well, trades
We
with
see a
E7.
trade. This should be a draw. I mean, black is really stuck on this side of the board. Maybe like before rook b4. I think it's gonna be very difficult to hang on to one of your pawns, and also your king is really stuck on h7. But who knows? Maybe he can pull something off here. King f3, rook b. Well, rook b2, rook d7, rook d7. That should be a draw. And
yeah, I think they're heading that way. I don't know what else Hikaru can do here. I mean, letting him capture the pawn on, d5, okay. And then what? You're gonna go king g6, but I mean, the rook just gets behind the pawn, right?
well, but white's king is really stuck over here, and it's difficult to create a passer. So, rook b3. That's an important pawn.
Oh,
That's an
wow.
important pawn. He misses it. Wait, what?
Oh,
Seemed like a pretty basic tactic to me.
yeah, just one pawn, yeah.
f5. This is just a draw now. Let's
Yep.
see if anything crazy is still gonna happen. Rook e1,
White king
king.
can always hide on. I was gonna say g5, but okay, it goes this way. And yeah, that's it. And Hikaru knows that he's, doesn't have any chances to win here. We can see his body language. Yeah, and it's a draw. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Hikaru had that one little intermediate check he could have thrown in. Let's see the other games. Let's see how Magnus is doing.
And that is what the players are pointing out at the board. Like I saw Anish pointing to that b3 square. Hikaru was also like, how did I miss that? And yeah, that was definitely a big missed opportunity. Let's show it real quick. In this position, he could have given a check first. Giri has to move his king, and then you take the pawn. It might still be a draw, but hey, he's up a pawn here in his endgame. Got two passers. Definitely not easy to defend. So let's see what's happening in the other games. Magnus won again. He's coming in with vengeance, and this game should be a draw between Gukesh and Firouzja.
Okay, so he's got the
wait, what happened? Wait, push.
Is that pawn gonna just become a queen?
Yes, you don't stop it. What?
Whoa.
This was the easiest draw in the world. Just like check and
yeah, I definitely would have started coming with my knight first instead of the king, because the king is obviously not helping that much. Wow. And that, all right, so that's a win for Alireza.
Yeah, so Alireza gets another win on the scoreboard. Let's have a very quick look at what happened in the other game. So Magnus won his game with the black pieces against Fabiano Caruana. Wesley and Shaq made a very quick draw, and Noorderbeck won his game against Ariantari, which gives us the following standings. So Shaq is on 4 points. He's still in the lead. Then we have Wesley and Firouzja on 3.5. Those three players are looking very good to secure another white game. And then we have a big pack on players on 50%. Hikaru Nakamura, Magnus Carlsen, Anish Giri, and Noorderbeck Abdusatorov on 2.5. And we have Fabiano on 2 points. Fabiano also definitely still has a chance to get another white game. But as Hikaru likes to say, it is getting late early for Gukesh and Ariantari, who are on 1 point out of 5 games. I don't think they're going to make it into the top half.
Yeah, it's funny that Gukesh's only win actually came at the expense of Magnus Carlsen. To think that, he managed to beat the #1 rated player in the world, but so far hasn't been able to get any other points. Let's see how Magnus got his second win against Fabiano.
Let's have a look. So it started off as an English with a very quick bishop to b4, knight to d5, bishop c5, knight f3. Okay, so all pretty standard. Bishop b4. Okay, nothing too crazy going on here. I like Magnus's position. He's got a big center, but it should all be. I like this for Magnus.
Yeah.
Fabiano now has the double pawns in the center. Oh, that's a nice move. Breaking in the center, because if you take, black starts rolling. So this was played. And he has got great central control here, also up a minute on the clock. And the position really played itself here. Okay, got the bishop there. e4, nice move. Sacking a pawn, but he's going all in on his kingside attack. And it was just too much for Fabiano to handle, also with just a couple seconds on the clock. We've seen this before, how things just fall apart. e3, nice move.
Center pawns and the centralization and the bishops. I mean, really nice position for Magnus.
Exactly. Yeah, I think with just a couple seconds on the clock, it's impossible to hold this together. Like, you want to open up this bishop. If you ever get this bishop on the long diagonal, you're just going to get checkmated with white. And that's pretty... Okay, well, Magnus got pushed back.
Yeah, it felt like white is making some progress here.
But yeah, the light squares are just way too weak. So Fabiano lost this game. I guess he lost on time after pawn takes f4. So Magnus, very important win, gets back to 50%, and who knows if he can get some more points on the board. I'm starting to regret my prediction. I think it might be more likely that he will get to, plus score, something like 5.5 out of 9, what you said. But let's have a very quick look.
We'll see. Yeah, I want to win the Predictor of the Year award, Benjamin.
Exactly. And Hikaru is going to be playing Magnus in the very next round. So tough pairing for Hikaru. I think he would have loved to get a few more points on the board in the last couple of rounds. So how do you think he is going to approach this game? The Trompowsky attack hasn't really worked out for him in the last couple of rounds. So I think he should switch it up.
Yes. I mean, he's gotten really nothing or less than nothing in his 2 games against... Well, okay, Noterbeck was more or less okay. Fabi was not great. I think he needs to switch it up for sure. And, just play a normal game. These players are on the same score, actually. So it's quite a principled matchup. I mean, as it always is. I think the Hikaru-Magnus pairing is like one of my favorite things to see in chess.
Exactly, yeah. No, I think it's everyone's favorite pairing. I'm very curious to see what Hikaru is going to do. I think he is just going to stick to his guns and play something like e4. I don't think he necessarily minds a draw against Magnus, so he probably doesn't really want to avoid the main lines at all costs. So I think he's going to go for the move e4, maybe I think he's going to go e4, and I think Magnus is going to play some sort of Ruy Lopez. I don't think a Berlin. I think something with a6, some sort of anti-marshal or a marshal is going to come on the board. That's what they contested in the Speed Chess Championship. So that is my prediction for this game.
Yeah, and that Speed Chess Championship was won by Hikaru, right?
Yes, it came down to the closest of margins, but he won with a couple seconds on the clock. That was an epic match to watch.
Yeah, that was amazing. It's one of the best events of 2022. And
exactly.
I guess this year, we're still waiting for a Speed Chess Championship to happen, right? Do you know anything about it?
It usually takes place towards the end of the year. So usually there's qualifiers in November, and then the main event happens in November and December. So I think we'll just have to wait for that. One thing that I have been waiting for the longest time is some sort of match between Hikaru and Magnus. Like, have them play a long match where they each play, 3-0 games, 3-1. Like, have them battle out every single time control so that we can finally decide who's the best player in the world.
Yeah, well, I have to say you're not alone in wanting to see that kind of match, Yeah, so that's also like on my wish list. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet. You got to do it before these players kind of pass out of their prime years, right? So
exactly. And as Drake Candy suggested in the chat, maybe to monetize chess a little bit better, we have to make it pay-per-view, right? That's very normal in boxing. I'm sure that most people would be willing to pay $5 to see a match between Hikaru and Magnus. So yeah, maybe that's something that can be set up in the future. I'm sure.
I think it'd be great actually, because I don't see why boxing would be so successful with that and not chess. Like, you would probably raise like the biggest prize funds for chess ever by doing that,
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, perhaps that's something to consider. Maybe they will really take chess, the financials of chess to another level. And I'm getting word that the Speed Chess Championship is in September. So it's going to start early this year. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. That's only a couple months away.
Yeah, like, the chess calendar is so full these days, right? It's like you're just the top events are just like not ending. And I think, like, for example, there's like this big open in Qatar in October, right at the same time as like the US Championship, and Magnus is going to be playing in that one. And then shortly after, there's like the Isle of Man, the Grand Swiss, just so many good events stacked on top of each other.
All right. Yeah. Now, someone's even saying in the chat, I would pay $500 to watch that chat. I mean, I'm sure people would be willing to pay $500, but not everyone is going to do that. But I think if you price it at like, I mean, let's say $50, I think that's definitely much more affordable. But yeah, like you said, the calendar is always stacked. Like you said, there's the Qatar Masters, then there's the the Grand Swiss. Then right after that, there's also the European Team Championship. So really one top event after another. And the online calendar also generally is adjusted to that. So yeah, the players really have a non-stop schedule. But the nice thing for Hikaru, and he's mentioned this many times, is that he doesn't have to travel overseas anymore to compete. He can also play online. And I'm sure that that's definitely something that is nice.
Yeah, except, well, he is overseas right now. He is in Norway. I mean, is that like, it's not the first time he's traveled this year, right? Like there must be something else that he was playing abroad. What can you think of?
Honestly, I can't.
You
He has
can't,
played
right?
in the American Cup, but that was
Right.
in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I think this might be his very first event where
Oh,
he's
wow.
gone abroad to compete.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Have I gone abroad to compete this year? No, I haven't. So I'm actually having a pretty busy June. You know, I have the Karen's Cup coming up in a couple of days, guys. And you'll be able to watch that on St. Louis Chess Club broadcast. And then I'm going to go do this event in Dubai, which is like a rapid team thing. It's called the Global Chess League. So there's been some news about it already on the FIDE website. And it's actually going to have a lot of the top players in the world, like Magnus and like Ding Liren playing.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, we wish you lots of luck in the Karen's Cup. I'm sure that's going to be an amazing event to participate in. And in the meantime, we see Hikaru getting ready at the board. He's waiting for Magnus to sit down. I assume they're going to start soon because it's the clock just hit 40 minutes. So maybe there's a bit of delay, or Magnus is just late. Wait, is Magnus late? Because we see Hikaru playing d4, but no move yet from Magnus. And we see the arbiter actually starting the clock.
Yeah, and Hikaru is like, well, he's not happy with that. He would rather have his opponent be at the board and not get any free time. But, you know, he was kind of forced to do that. And, well, that's okay. That's a common thing with Magnus. He often does arrive late to the games, and his opponents usually wait for him. You know, but sometimes, you know, if the arbiter chooses to get it going, then there's nothing you can do. And so Magnus was not in a hurry. He adjusted all his pieces, and Hikaru is actually sticking to his to this line that we've seen him do 2 times already.
Yeah, a little bit surprising. And Magnus goes for the same approach that we've seen from Fabiano and from Noterbeck. Again, the move knight b2 from Hikaru. So let's see if Magnus is going to go for something like queen b6 or bishop to g4. It felt like in both games, Hikaru's opponents were doing pretty fine. But at least, you know, Magnus came, 20 seconds late. Now he's in the tank again. So Hikaru almost up a minute already.
Yeah, I mean, Magnus is definitely handling the clock in a kind of luxurious way. So no one's tried this queen b6 move yet. And he played bishop f5 the way Fabi did, I believe, right? Fabi's bishop was on g4?
Fabi played without the move c5. Fabi played with a quick bishop f5 and bishop to d6.
Bishop d6. Okay.
We see quick queen b3 by Hikaru. Always a little bit annoying to have to defend that pawn. If you go queen e7, you have to worry about moves like bishop b5, followed by knight e5, or maybe knight e5 right away. Let's see if that is what Hikaru is going to go for. But if you don't do anything quickly, black can go c4 and get a nice clamp on the queen side. So let's see what Hikaru is going to do here.
Yeah, I mean, the point here is that black's knight is not an f6, so knight e5 doesn't have the power that it normally would, because, you know, normally if the knight's an f6, you go knight e5, black takes you, and you get that tempo on the knight, and you threaten that bishop b5, winning the queen. Here, knight e5, they can take you, and then black gets a move to, like, play c4 or a6. All right, so Hikaru plays bishop b5. There's a trade. I guess knight will take, and again, black is a super solid position. I really feel like he needs to have some go to his backup opening, whatever that is, because this can't be it. And he took with the king.
What? He took with the king?
Did he really do that? Oh man.
He wanted to get knight e5 in, but black just goes f6, and now you're stuck with your king in the center. I mean, the best way forward is probably to play someone like rook d1, king e2, king f1, king g1, but you lose so much time in the process. So I'm really surprised by this move. I mean, I guess he just wanted to keep playing the Bon Club, but I don't think this is really the occasion to do so.
Yeah, and he's even a little bit lower on the clock now than Magnus. I mean, this is certainly playing with fire. All right, well, he goes queen a4. So what's the idea? I'm not exactly sure because okay, he's taking on c5 and he wants to go knight d4, I guess. And now Magnus.
I think yeah, we see the move e5 by Magnus, bishop to g3, and Magnus takes. I think now you go rook d1 and king e1, get that king out of the center. Time, by the way, has evened up. I don't think you quite want to take because that only solidifies black structure. Yeah, and now, like we said, he has to go king e1, king of 1. It's not all that bad, but black has a very solid structure. And actually, right now, the king really isn't that bad in the center. So I think he should trade, but it's always a bit scary to go into the endgame against Magnus.
Yeah, 97 was a very interesting choice. I thought he was taking with the king there and wanted to go like king e6, but I guess we'll just keep it in a more traditional with the king on f7. And okay, it's just very pleasant. Black has the space advantage. I mean, at some point he's going to go maybe, h5.
h5.
Yeah, g5. And
yeah, definitely he's got lots of ideas. Maybe like g5 and then g4. And if you go h4, there's knight f5. So Hikaru's got his work cut out for him. It's maybe he wants to go c4, break in the center, but I guess there might be d4 for black. You can go knight f5 at any moment. So a really pleasant advantage for Magnus. Definitely not where you want to be if you're Hikaru. Maybe bishop f3 now, followed by knight b3 to put some pressure on this pawn over here. And there we have it.
Okay. Yeah, so c4 was not so easy, I think, for him to get in tactically.
Wait, but now knight b3. How does Magnus defend this pawn on d5? I think he's misplayed it a little bit. You can go knight c4, attack the pawn on b2, which is a little bit awkward to protect, but you give Hikaru the bishop pair, and he goes knight e4. Aha, here's an interesting point. Hikaru can go into this opposite color bishop endgame, but I think it's quite bad because your bishop on h2 is completely dead, and there's no good way to bring it back. So I think you take once, and then you figure out how to get this bishop back.
So you do want to take the bishop. Okay, that's what Hikaru did. So is he going to take the knight? I mean, the thing is like, okay, he didn't take the knight. He went for c4.
Oh, I like c4 because there's no rook c8 because you hang this pawn on h5. So can Magnus play g4 cd, and the tactics work out for Hikaru. So this game is definitely turning. It's definitely, this transition is definitely good for Hikaru.
Yes, the c4 move is a big resource, like challenging black in the center and trying to give that bishop an f3 more scope. And it's actually not so easy. I mean, okay, black is comfortable in any case because that bishop on h2 is out of the game, but at least at least it's starting to feel a little bit more solid for white.
Yeah, but how do you keep things together? To me, it's really not obvious. Again, rook c8 is not available. You hang this pawn on h5. White has the legitimate threat of taking on d5 because if you take this rook, there's d takes e6 and in between check. So, and Magnus is thinking he's down to 30 seconds. So can Hikaru score a big win here? g4, c takes d5. Hikaru's going to win a pawn here.
Wow. Okay, he's going to win a pawn. Okay, his bishop on h2 is still going to be out of the game.
Right, so let's see what he's going to do. I guess you take on e6, maybe take on c5, and then take on f3. Because if you take and then take on f3, there's knight g5 with a double attack. So he takes. I think you take, but now take and knight g5. But he's always got the f4 break to get that bishop back into the game. King e2, knight h3.
And should he go f4? I mean, it kind of traps in that knight, but it also traps in your bishop. He did go for it. Okay.
Right, but the bishop is not going to be taken, but the knight is going to be taken. So very risky position for Magnus down to his last 25 seconds. I love how Hikaru's played this e4. What do we do now?
Okay, well, I don't know. King f1 at some point you might want to think about. You want to keep an eye on that knight. There you go. Okay. Rook g8. You gotta keep the king out.
I think it's going to be difficult to take this knight. But then, but then there's h4 and take rook g1.
Yeah. Don't want to blunder that. Okay.
So I think the thing is, it's very difficult to actually take the knight, but the knight is never coming out, as far as I can see. So maybe you just go like rook c7, start collecting some pawns over here. He gives a check first. Bishop g3. Now h4 comes.
So h4 would be captured with check. So he's going to be winning a pawn here, right? Like after king h4, king h3. I mean, he's up a pawn in that endgame. I don't know if that's the best, but.
Oh, but here's the thing. King g2, knight f4,
ef, and then h4.
And then h4.
Oh, so tricky.
Yeah, but I think Hikaru just has to keep the tension, someone like rook e8, h4 and bishop h2, because the knight is never getting out.
Yeah.
And fun fact, Black's best move is knight g1. Just give up that knight.
That's not the most obvious, I have to say. I don't know. Like, do I see Magnus finding that with like 10 seconds? I really don't, but
Me neither.
there
And we have
go.
h4, bishop h1 on the board. Oh, rook f8, rook f8. What do you play? I don't see a move. He goes rook h8,
Okay.
king
all
g7,
right.
rook b8. I feel like Hikaru
Yeah,
should
some
win this game.
pawns, right?
Check.
He's winning
King
some
up.
pawns and just take something, right?
Oh, but he's gonna move the rook and move in the king. Oh, this gets
My
super
gosh.
tricky all of a sudden.
Oh my gosh, that is a crazy idea.
Rook g7.
King
Wait.
G4,
King
I mean,
g4.
wow.
You can go knight f2 and king h3. And he finds it.
Incredible play by Magnus.
Probably a draw. He's done a full piece, but this bishop is so passive that black king g4. Wow, what is
Wow,
this
they're
game?
playing so fast. You know, the pieces are flying.
Yeah,
They
what is
actually built
happening
up
here?
Some time now. Hikaru does seem a little bit
Check.
confused.
Okay, take. Okay, wait, what is happening? Okay, take an e3. You cannot play h3 because of rook
Yeah,
g3
he took
checkmate.
the pawn. He took the pawn, Benjamin. He took the pawn on h4. It's gone.
Okay. The moves are not coming through anymore, at least
okay.
on my end.
Oh yeah. Well,
Okay,
the pawn
so-
is gone. I'm watching the video. He's got the bishop on e1, and he's up a bishop. There's no h pawn on the board
check.
anymore.
Very difficult to figure out what's going on.
H5. Okay. And Hikaru doesn't have a lot of time. You can see that he's playing really fast.
Oh, the moves just flew in. I think if anything, Magnus is probably playing for a win because Hikaru is so passive.
That might be it. That might be it.
F4?
Those pawns are going.
Look at,
Hikaru's,
oh no, wait, it's
desperately
not stalemate. I thought you can do this, but you can't. But you just sit. Wait, how does Magnus improve? Rook h2, but then f3. This looks scary. Rook a1 apparently is winning. Rook b2 played. Super scary position for Hikaru. King f3. Ooh, and now you lose another pawn. I don't think you can hold this.
So he lost
But
that a pawn, yeah?
b3.
Man.
Oh no, you cannot stop the pawn. I think it's over.
Oh my gosh. The pawn is just going, yeah?
Yep. I mean, you don't have a move. And if you move the rook, I mean, black just starts pushing this pawn. So I think it's all over.
That was pretty crazy. That was a wild end game.
That was a wild game. I mean, he should not have let Magnus's king get in. I think had he played that move...
That idea of king h5 to g4, I mean, that was so neat, you know?
Exactly. And yeah, Magnus wins this game. So shocking loss for Hikaru. And he's going to have to come back in the last 3 games.
Oh, Magnus looking pretty happy. He's like, hey, I'll take that. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a crazy game. Should we just show like how that king got to f3?
Yeah, so I think right here, this was really the critical position of the game. I think had Hikaru played the move here, rook f8, he would have won. Because I think Magnus is in Zugzwang. He cannot move the knight, he cannot move the rook. He can move a pawn on the queen side. But let's say you go here, you go b4,
yeah.
and black runs out of moves. And yeah, at some point you move the king and you hang this. And I think then Hikaru should win the game. But in the game, he played rook h8. Here, he won a pawn on the queen side, but now Magnus went king h5 and rook g7. And all of a sudden, his king was coming in to g4 to f3. Hikaru went here and stopped the king. But now, a brilliant knight sacrifice by Magnus to get the king to h3. He's down a full piece, but he is so super active over here. And I think Hikaru could have made a draw here any moment he wanted to. He played bishop f2, and now king g4, another amazing move. He wants to go king f3. This h1 is still super strong, and white is just so stuck over here. And it turned out that the position at least was much easier to navigate for Magnus. He got a couple pawns, then he eventually took the f-pawn, and Hikaru was unable to keep things together. The critical mistake apparently was made right here. He should have defended with rook h2, and now after f3, and now you check in here, but again, with just a couple seconds on the clock, that's so difficult.
Why was his move such a mistake? What was it that he did that was so bad?
Because after rook h4 doesn't do it. Wait, he played rook h4, and now Magnus went here. And now if you play rook h2, there's f3, And this no longer works because you do not attack the
There's
rook.
F2. Oh, wow.
There's F2. But again, with just a couple of seconds on the clock, this is so difficult to hold together. So very, very tough loss for Hikaru. He went for it, but at the end, he allowed Magnus a little bit too much counterplay, and he's going to have to come back to make it into the top half.
No, I think it's kind of amazing how that bishop, that the bad bishop actually turned out to be quite bad, right? Like being blocked in both those pawns. I mean, it was like that struggle, you know, whose minor piece is worse, because Black's knight was about to get trapped and White's bishop was pretty terrible. And in the end, Magnus just solved that problem by like giving away the knight.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was all about whether or not Magnus's king came in. And yeah, he managed to get that king in, and it was just a little bit too much for Hikaru to handle. So if we look at the standings, things are looking very good for Firouzja. I think he's very close to locking in that extra white game. Magnus now also in the top half, and Hikaru in the bottom half. He will have to win some games, but I think he still has a game against Tari, still has a game against Gukesh, so it's definitely possible. Let's have a look at what happened in the other games. Firouzja won his game against Shakir Momijarov. Anish lost with the white pieces against Gukesh.
That actually looks like a really cool position. Can we see that Gukesh position? Because something looks very cool about that.
Yep.
Wow,
so,
it looks like he got crushed in the Sicilian or something. Yeah. Can we see that? I love Sicilian games.
Yeah, so this started off as a Taimanov with Queen f3, a very popular line. And Gukesh went for this line with 95 and b5. So very sharp stuff. h5. This line is very double-edged. All the pieces stay on the board. Okay, rook f1, g4. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very non-standard position. But now Black's got this really gorgeous bishop on the diagonal.
Oh, and look at this. Yeah, he's double attacking the queen and the knight. So Giri went here, but now rook g8 and a rook g3. And it feels like the harmony is lacking. Knight f5. I mean, Black's pieces are working together amazingly. And Gukesh won a crushing game with the black pieces. Here, Giri regains the piece, but now bishop to c3. You cannot take the bishop because takes, you're in check, and you're going to lose the rook. So amazing game by Gukesh, who crawls up a little bit in the standings. But I think he's not going to make it into the top half. Gukesh will have to win his last 3 games. And Hikaru, I think he's going to have to score at least 2 wins in the next couple of games. I mean, is 50% going to cut it? Maybe yes, probably no. So he's going to have to get some points on the board here.
Well, it's nice to see that it's such a back and forth in the standings, right? I mean, Mamedyarov, the leader, also lost to Firouzja. Let's see how he lost.
Right, so let's see what happened. Shag blundered. Oh, I mean, Firouzja's better. He's got some pressure here, but Shag blundered a very basic tactic.
He just queen. Oh,
he just hung his queen.
So what happened? Like the move before that, was he in bad shape there too? I mean, he was obviously in under a lot of pressure, right? He was in a pin on the D file.
All right, so. This line in the English where white is delaying the move knight to c3, so you can go for a quick b3 and bishop b2, attacking the pawn. And now queen c2 and rook d1. Firouzja wanted to get in the move d4. So nice move by Shek, going for the move c5, clamping down on that d4 square. All right, so things looking pretty standard so far, but at some point, e3, nice move. Now he can prepare the d4 break. I don't like the move f5. Now the pawn on e5 becomes pretty weak. And Firouzja put some nice tactics together. I like how he sacked the pawn here, because now all of a sudden Black is in a nasty pin. And it was just too much for Shaq to handle. I think objectively Black might be okay, but...
he can take first, yeah, on e5 and maybe... Oh, then he still can't play queen e6 because he loses the queen the other way. Why don't you show the viewers that?
Yeah, indeed, you cannot... If you take and go queen e6, you lose the queen this way. So the one way for Shaq to hold on in this game is move knight f6. But good luck figuring that out with only a couple seconds on the clock, and you still lose a pawn here after takes and takes. So that's just how it goes in Blitz. Like if there's the pressure just gets to you, and players make mistakes. So a very nice win for Firouzja. Fabiano scores a crushing win with the black pieces over Arjan Tari. Noderbeck wins with the black pieces against Wesley So. So I guess we're getting ready for round number 7, which is probably going to start in a...
Hikaru is playing in round 7.
Let's do it. So in round
we got
7,
1/3 of the tournament left.
yep, Hikaru is playing Gukesh with the black pieces, but unfortunately for Hikaru, it seems that Gukesh finally found his footing. He just scored a nice win with the black pieces, but this is definitely a must-win game for Hikaru. He's in the bottom half. He's playing against a player who is in second to last place, so he has to win this one.
Mm-hmm. So Mamedyarov playing Giri, and who is Magnus playing?
Magnus is playing Ariantari with the white pieces, so
his
a big
friend.
opportunity for Magnus to get another win on the board. And someone asked in the chat, does the pairing number really make a difference? Whether you get 1 through 5, it doesn't really matter as that much, but you definitely want to finish in the top half, because if you finish in the top half, you can pick your color. The players will definitely pick a number that is 1 to 5, because then they get an extra white game. So again, you definitely want to finish in that top half. So let's see if Hikaru can pull it off. Again, he's playing Gukesh with the black piece. I think it's definitely possible. But Irina, what opening do you think he is going to play with the black pieces in case Gukesh opens up with E4?
Okay, so Gukesh is an E4 player. I have to say, like, I haven't seen like tons of Gukesh's games, at least to know his opening repertoire that well. But if he goes E4, yeah, I mean, will he go for like a Sicilian, or will he just go for E5? We're gonna see. Game is about to start. I mean, I guess
think
you got to go for, E5 is like the safe guess.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Gukesh is an E4 player, but I'm really not sure. I mean, I think these players, everyone plays everything, so he probably can play D4 as well, Knight of 3, or maybe the English. For some reason, I think he's going to go E4, but it really remains to be seen. I'm sure that Gukesh also wants a fight. He still has a chance to make it into the top half if he wins his last 3 games, or maybe 2.5 out of 3 will be enough for him as well. So sure, we can expect a big fight here. Hikaru is definitely the favorite in my book, and there we have a D4 on the board.
We have a new leader, which is Firouzja with 4.5 out of 6, but I have to say, like, Magnus is just a point behind him. It's not that much, and I don't think Magnus has played Firouzja yet.
Yeah, and we see another BOGO Indian by Hikaru, going for the same opening as against Wesley. But overall, I feel like White definitely has an edge here. He improves with the move A5 to make sure that White cannot get in that move B4.
Okay, and otherwise it's quite similar. Yeah, D5, Knight B8, and then he's probably going to go for this Bishop G4 move again, because that worked out quite decently for him.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
That being said, if he goes for an early C6 or C5, he is giving Gukesh the opportunity to take and break with C5. But Gukesh goes Knight E1. I guess now he's going to play something like maybe Knight E8, Bishop G5.
Oh. Yeah, White wants to go Knight D3 and maybe even F4 at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or prepares with G3 and F4. So let's see what's going to happen. I've had some blitz games here against Renato Terry online. I feel like White is always better, but it's been difficult to prove. But Hikaru is playing very well. The time just switched. Okay, he goes Bishop F6. So I think he's discouraging White from playing the move F4.
Wow, Bishop F6, it does surprise me a bit. I mean, what is he going to do? Like, go G6? Like, what is the bishop doing there? I mean, is he going to go G6, Bishop G7? Yeah, I guess that is what he's going to do, and try to get into, like, this King's Indian type. Okay.
What Gukesh can do now is the move Bishop G4, trade off those bishops, because Hikaru's got a lot of pawns committed to the dark shore. So I think this should give Gukesh a small edge, but it's difficult to break on the queen side because Hikaru has got it nicely locked up, and in the meantime, he can prepare the F5 break. So I think that's what he's going to do. He goes Knight D7 first, but at some point, he definitely is looking to move the bishop out of the way and get a 5 in.
Yeah, Bishop G7, I think, is going to happen. Okay, I mean, generally the fact that White's traded the light squared bishops, should favor White. But White also needs a plan, right? Like B4, it's not exactly clear what you're doing there because I can hold my queen side pretty easily. And so, yeah, F5, F3 makes sense. And now usually they play Knight F6.
Like Knight F6. You can also go like Rook F7, maybe getting the queen out first and then Knight F6. It's difficult to create real play here. The position is fairly closed, but Hikaru is an expert in these King's Indian type of positions. So he goes Knight F6. I think he might be looking at something like Knight H5, followed by Queen to G5. So I'm very curious to see how he is going to create a counterplay on the king side. And big question, is Gukesh, well, it's answer right there. He goes for the move B4.
So should we trade and like play B6? That's kind of my first instinct. but
You can also take twice. It opens up the queen side, but the pawn on c4 is a little bit weak. You also potentially get this square. And if you take on e4, go bishop h6, you definitely have some pressure on white's position. But Hikaru, for now, keeps the tension. This does give Gukesh the opportunity to close the position with the move b5. So let's see if he's going to go for that.
yeah, I mean, I guess there's no point for him to take on c5. And I think black can also, at some point, play b6 if he really wants to solidify that. I mean, queen c7 is very solid. Like, you're going away from the king side, but at the same time, you're kind of handling the problems on the queen side. So I totally get Hikaru's move here.
Wow, and we see the move h5 by Hikaru. Gaining space on the king side. I think he wants to go bishop h6 and just make sure that he gets that pawn move in before the bishop lands there. So let's see what Gukesh is going to do. Again, it makes sense to go b5, keep your space advantage on the king side. Hikaru could at some point take here, but I think he wants to slowly but surely improve his position.
Or
And
he
what
wants to go
Gukesh...
h4 and knight h5, you know?
Right. And I guess maybe, does white want to meet h4 with g4? Well, I guess that weakens the light scores a little bit. Gukesh takes. So I guess we take with a knight.
Yeah, so the queen is coming to c5. And
Yep, and there it is.
the thing is, like, you need to get rid of the queen because she's very good on c5, but how to do that? I mean, knight b3, queen maybe even to
Or queen b6 maybe, creates an annoying attack on the knight. Hikaru up a little bit of time. He's up like 20 seconds. And I think his position is easier to play. I think white's position is a little bit loose. The pawn on e4 is often hanging. The pawn on c4 is often hanging. Now, that's often not so much a problem in classical, but in a blitz game, things easily start hanging when you only have a couple seconds on the clock. And we see the move rook b1 by Gukesh. He's conceding the a file, and Hikaru makes use of it. He doesn't care about the pawn on b7.
Okay, wow, rook a2. I mean, that's very active, and he doesn't even take on b7, so he's getting that queen to go back where, like c7?
What about c8? So you can always go back to the king side, and that is what Hikaru does. Nice move, and I feel like, again, it's starting to crumble a little bit for Gukesh. There's always the move bishop h6, putting some pressure on the knight. At some point, Hikaru's going to take, and he's got a ton of moves, like queen h3, knight g4. Again, I think for blitz, this is definitely a position that's easier to play for black.
Yeah, I agree. And I really love that rook on a2, the way it's pinning the knight. So when you take on e4, one of the issues before with that move was that there was going to be knight takes and then queen takes. But this way, they're going to be forced to take with the pawn, and the knight stays passive and the king side opens up. So, okay, Gukesh decided to take. I guess queen takes is sort of the natural move. You probably just don't even think and you do it.
Well, you do sacrifice the b-pawn, but I think it's definitely in Hikaru's style to just sack the pawn and go all out on the king side. You can take with the g-pawn, but as we speak, queen takes is on the board. So is Gukesh going to take this pawn over here? I wonder, oh, maybe queen c2 is a nasty move.
Yes, yes.
Or bishop h6,
okay.
increasing the pressure. And with 44 seconds on the clock, this looks like a tough position for Gukesh. He doesn't have any easy moves. Goes f4. I think you don't want to take because that allows white's queen to come in. But what about something like h4? Slowly but surely chipping away at white's king side.
Yeah, I mean, it is getting pretty wild as white is also trying to open up, you know, on this e5 square. Okay, he goes for h4. Nice. So he just wants to take on d3 and queen h3 or something, ideas.
Oh, I wonder if there's some sort of tactic like take. Maybe you can take and like knight no, wait, never mind, because the rook is still blocked. But I guess something like knight g4, and the threats are probably becoming a little bit too much for white, I assume. Also, it's important to note that in case white takes here, rook g7 is never moved because our bishop still covers that square. So Hikaru's going all out, and Gukesh 15 seconds. I think Hikaru's going to win this game. It looks like it's just too much.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, okay, the Gukesh did find a good move though, challenging that rook, but still there's a big time difference, and the initiative is on black's side. So I think Hikaru does have excellent chances here, but what is he supposed to do? Is he supposed to trade the rooks now? He's thinking, yeah.
I guess you trade, but rook b2, indeed an amazing defensive move by Gukesh. So we see a trade. Now he's going to take here, maybe like knight h5, but that allows knight e4. Okay, there's a check, but I guess you block. I don't see anything clear, to be honest. If he can keep the tension, create some checks, he's got great chances, but it's not easy.
Knight e4, maybe he has queen e4, and then he wins a pawn in that endgame. What do you think?
Right, but is that... Oh, there's maybe bishop f4? Some weird tactics all of a sudden. Gukesh very alone.
Thinking, okay, Hikaru looks a little frustrated. I guess he was planning queen e4, and then he thinks that it's not, and he actually goes for queen e4, but he's not so sure that it's how good it is for him because of this
Right, 'cause
C5
if-
move at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, there's C5. Will Gukesh find it? If Hikaru gets a time to consolidate, Gukesh is defending amazingly. I mean, it's incredible. He's finding all of these best moves with just a couple seconds on the clock, and he might just save this one. I mean, how does Hikaru still create chances here?
Yeah, he's trying to break down
C6. He's playing with fire.
that pawn.
Cannot take as a
Wow.
check, but okay, King f7. Rook a8 stopping bishop a3. Rook b4
Yeah,
is
he
definitely
playing with fire.
Oh wait, he blundered. What is he doing?
Yeah, he let the white get that pawn on c6. He's definitely trying to, plan his clock situation here.
C7 and you lose the bishop, but okay. Gukesh decides not to cash in on the bishop right away. Rook a5 maybe, going after that pawn. Will we see rook c5? Wait. What is happening in this game? King moves there.
It's gonna be like with the white bishop, maybe kind of like Magnus's game.
Take C7.
Yeah.
You have to take. And we get 3 pawns, but I don't think you can really keep the pawns on the board. It's probably just going to be a draw, but king up. Wait, there's still chances.
Yep.
Still chances.
Magnus
King
is
up,
able to win like
Or
that.
king
right?
here. Yep,
So,
king up.
exactly the
Rook
same
d2.
situation.
Rook g2. If anything, Hikaru has got the chances here. He's got king e6. G4, good move. King up. There we go. Can he pull this off? King d5. Okay, 6. Tough.
Yeah, I mean, in this position, of course, white's bishop is not as bad as it was for Hikaru in his game with Magnus. That's the difference.
Indeed,
So-
yeah. But these pawns are pretty far advanced. Maybe push. Just check. King d5. Check maybe. That's a good move. You don't have a good way to defend this pawn. Check or e4, but that's not what you want to do. The pawn's becoming pretty loose now. And a rook
Yeah, now
g5.
you finally get one. Yeah, like rook g5.
But he goes passively. Wait, d5?
Rook
This game is not
d2,
over.
rook
4
d2.
seconds for Gukesh.
That's his idea, rook d2.
Rook d3, but that's a very basic draw. Rook a5. Okay,
Okay, now you just trade and
take.
go king d2. Yeah, now it's a draw.
Not the end of the world, but it felt like he really had chances to win this one, and then now it's all
Yeah,
it's a draw. There's
He's
still
definitely
chances.
Very, very frustrated at that.
Yeah. And this game ends in a draw. So very up and down game. I see a lot of red here on my screen, although I think the game wasn't that bad. It was pretty normal, but
Yeah.
the things definitely went off the rails for Hikaru, and it felt like he had some bad luck. He had all the pressure on Gukesh, but Gukesh found some only moves with just a couple seconds on the clock. It felt like there had to be something, but there wasn't, and
rook
Gukesh
d2
managed
was great, neutralizing the opponent's active rook on a2. Yeah, that was the key defensive move for Gukesh.
That was indeed really the game saver, and yeah, it's just bad luck for Hikaru. There isn't really anything much better than going into this endgame, which looks good, but white is
Take with
just
a rook? Why can't you take with a rook here, Benjamin?
because you take, and I guess white is also drawing this because you have so many pawns on the dark square. Something like king f3, bishop a3. It's probably just a draw. So,
Yeah.
but that being said, right around here, Hikaru was completely, or well, not completely lost, but he was lost, and he managed to save a draw anyway. I think had he lost this game, his chances to reach the top half would have been close to 0. But now there's still a chance. He's gonna play, I don't know who. Oh, by the way, look at this.
Oh my
Aryan
gosh.
Tari.
Tari beat
Beats-
Magnus? Oh my gosh. Wow.
What an upset.
And he just
Wow.
mated him.
Yep. Brutal checkmate.
Can we
Let's have a-
let's see that.
A pretty wild game. Both players playing very originally in the opening. Okay, Tari having a fine position out of the opening. Okay, Magnus. Okay, everything looks pretty fine so far for Magnus. Maybe he's a little bit better, but Tari starts to go a little bit aggressively. He wants to open up towards Magnus's king, and oh wow, nice tactic.
Pretty. Wait, hold on. Let's show that. Let me figure that out. Queen d4, king g3, queen f4, king h3. Is it like, oh, you're taking the knight on d2? Okay, that arrow helps.
That's probably what Magnus should have gone for, because you take this pawn on c5, but again, it's difficult to calculate with just a couple seconds. You went c4, but that only makes matters worse, it looks like. He's still doing fine here, but Tari went all out in the attack. Although Queen e7 is a little bit passive, but slowly but surely, Magnus's shelter around his king was ripped apart. And it's always tough when your king is wide open in Blitz. And it just became... Oh, it's probably just a draw here, but he made a horrible blunder with knight e4, and then bishop c4 was game over.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he just gave up the c4 square. That was quite unnecessary, yeah?
Yeah, so Tari gets a big win with the black pieces. Let's see
Nice
what
game.
happened.
I mean, I think he kind of earned his win, you know? He definitely did something to earn that opportunity.
For sure. So let's have a look at the settings. Hikaru is half a point out of the top half. But even if he gets at extra half a point, is this tiebreak going to be good enough? That's the big question. In the meantime, the game between Shaq and Giri ended in a draw, and the game between Norway and Firouzja ended in a draw, and the game between Fabiano and Wesley ended in a draw as well. So some of the players, although it looks like these games are very heavily contested, I feel like though this game between Shaq might just be playing it safe. He knows like, hey, I'm on +2. If I make one more draw, I'm in.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This is at the later stage of the tournament where you can afford to get a bit strategic like that. And I mean, okay, Firouzja is definitely on his path to getting his 5 whites in the tournament. But Carlsen is now tied for 5th with Caruana. Yeah, so there, I mean, I think like all those guys who are, I don't know, let's say if you're not Firouzja and Mamedyarov, you definitely still gotta work for it, right?
Exactly, yeah. But let's have a look at the round 8 pairings. Hikaru, he couldn't ask for a better pairing. He's playing Arjan Tari with the white pieces, but Arjan just came off a win with the black piece against Magnus, so he must definitely be feeling some confidence. And I think in the last round, I'm not sure, but I feel like Hikaru hasn't played Mamedyarov yet, so that's going to be a big matchup as well. So I think he can definitely still pull it off. This is a must-win game, like no question about it. He has to beat Arjan with the white pieces, and he needs a little bit of luck in the standings. Like for example, it would be nice if Firouzja beats Fabiano. He cannot catch Firouzja anyway, but that Fabiano gets out of the way, so to speak. And I don't know what result he needs to hope for in the game between Wesley and Magnus. Maybe a win for Wesley so that Magnus is out of the way as well. And let's see, Giri is playing Noterbeck. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a fight between Carlsen, Caruana, Nakamura, and Giri for that 5th spot. That being said, Wesley and Noterbeck are not secured of their spot as well.
Yeah, so there's still a lot to play for here, and we still got some fascinating matchups. So Carlsen, you said he's playing Wesley. So yeah, that's going to be a good one that we can check in on later. So we got Naka playing. Okay, yeah, I guess the big question for us, Benjamin, is he going to repeat this d4, knight f3, bishop g5 stuff, or is he finally just had enough of it?
I would be surprised. I feel like it hasn't really worked out, but sometimes you stick to something and you just play it throughout the tournament. So he might as well. I think against someone like Tari, it really might be better to play some sort of knight f3, e3, b3 system. But let's see what he is gonna do. And actually, when is the next round gonna start? The players are not ready yet.
So what are your summer plans, Benjamin? What do you got coming up?
So I will play in the Dutch Championship, which is going to be in early July. So definitely looking forward to that. Also, I have some other tournaments, but that will probably be my only tournament. But as we're speaking, we're going to be taking a very, very quick break. But don't go anywhere. You definitely don't want to miss the action in the last 2 rounds. Is Hikaru going to make it in the top half? We will see you guys after the break.
I threw a wish in the well. Don't ask me, I'll never tell. I looked at you as it fell, and now you're in my way. I trade my soul for a wish, pennies and dimes for a kiss. I wasn't looking for this, but now you're in my way. Your stare was holding, ripped jeans, skin was showing. Hot night, wind was blowing. Where you think you're going, baby? Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy. your baby, but here's my number, so call me maybe. Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my number, so call me maybe. And all the other boys try to chase me, but here's my number, so call me maybe. Before you came into my life, I missed you so bad, I missed you so bad, I missed you so, so bad. Before you came into my life, I missed you so bad, and you should know that.
Hey guys, we're back with our coverage of the Norway Chess Blitz tournament, and we are here to see if Hikaru can qualify into the top half. So far, he's got his work cut out for him. He's got 2 more games left to do it, and he really needs those 2 wins. So he changed up his opening Benjamin. That's what we were waiting to see.
But what do you make of this move 1b4? To be very honest, I'm not a humongous fan of it. I feel like black is just a little bit better here. I think at some point he will just give this bishop on f6, but I feel like if anything, black often is better in these positions, but at least he gets Tari thinking very early on. I think what a good plan is here is to go d5, c5, and knight to c6, but Tari starts with the move rook to e8. Also notice that after move b4, Tari just played quickly, so I feel like he might have still looked at this. What do you think?
Yeah, he's certainly playing quickly. He's going for knight c6 next. But okay, I mean, Hikaru has the e pawn versus the b pawn. He's got that center pawn. It's interesting that despite having the center pawn, you know, white is not better, because normally when you have that center pawn, you are. So I guess it's because black is just so active with the c5 and d5 pawns here.
Exactly, and we'll see Hikaru thinking here. Again, I'm not a big fan of this this opening. He trades the bishop on f6 and now goes for the move d4, but it feels like Tari's got a pretty solid position. He's got the 2 bishops, got a fairly solid structure, maybe c4, grabbing more space on that side of the board, and the game turns into a bit of a Ragozin, but you actually still have the bishop on a5, where often you would trade it for a knight on c3, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, of course, it's looking very comfortable for black. You still have to do some work to get your knight out from b1. Although, okay, so that's a bit of a slightly weird move, I would say, because he just removed that pawn from attack and makes it easier for Hikaru to develop. And now Hikaru is going to go like knight b3. I mean, okay, yeah, black, of course, has plenty of resources in the position. He can always put his bishop on b4, bishop on f5. But okay, I mean, I just like the fact that Hikaru changed something up. Like, for me, that's a really positive sign. He went 3 times to that well Benjamin with this d4, knight f3, bishop g5, and I think it's just really good that he chose something different for this game.
Exactly, and we see Tari looking, he's making his intentions very clear, eyeing the king side with the moves queen to d6 and bishop c7. This transition in the pawn structure is definitely a good one. Black now has an isolated pawn on d5. Maybe the move bishop g4 by Tari, threatening to take on f3 and on h2. So now Hikaru, of course, has to play g3, blocking the diagonal. And I think this position, at least it feels like it's easier for white to play because you have the better structure. What about a move like knight h4 here, threatening a fork after the exchange?
Okay, yeah, he heard you, and yeah, Tari said no to that. So what are we gonna do? Oh wow, there is this bishop g4 move that could be thought about by Hikaru. It's sort of like a trade, and is he going to do it?
Wow, and he plays it.
Yeah.
So now Tari can take, but knight f5, and I feel like even though the material is equal after this trade, it's definitely in Hikaru's favor because the pawn on d5 will be weak. This bishop on c7 is a little bit dead because all of white's pawns are so solid that it's very difficult to ever create any targets for that bishop. Rook e4, by the way, tricky move. If you go to f3, there would have been rook takes h4 and queen takes h2 at the end. So that's why Hikaru goes to h3. And now he's looking at moves like knight c5, attacking the rook and that pawn on b7. So I like his position. Knight f5 is also an annoying knight jump. Bishop b6. So
yeah,
what do we do
he's
now?
Gonna get some positional advantage. Like even like knight c5 can be thought about, or maybe first knight f5, then knight c5. You get that trade. You play against the weak d pawn. I feel like well, black can sort of forget about his initiative on the king side, right? At some point, black is going to have to deal more with the pawn structure.
G6, clever move by Tari, stopping the move knight f5. So now let's see what Hikaru is going to do. Maybe something like rook c1. Also a plan I like is something like knight g2 to f4 to put more pressure over here, and that's what he goes for. So maybe now Tari should play the move b6, kicking that rook away from c5 to alleviate the pressure on the d5 pawn.
Yeah, because if he goes G5 trying to stop knight f4, then there's queen f5, like a really beautiful square for the white queen. So he needs to kind of watch out for that. Yeah, definitely b6, kicking the rook out of that outpost would be a good idea. White would probably go like rook c3, then try to double up rooks on the c file.
Right, so let's see what Tari is going to do. Hikaru, by the way, also up a little bit of time on the clock, like 20 seconds. And Tari is a thing. The drawback of b6 is that your knight becomes loose. So after rook c3, you eventually have to move it, maybe to a5 and c4. That's definitely a possibility. The one thing I don't love about Hikaru's position is his queen on h3. I would much rather have it on something like f3, a little bit more centralized. That being said, it might give you some possibilities on this diagonal. Who knows? But by the way, Tari taking a lot of time.
How about queen h6 to g5 as maybe as an idea one day? I mean, I know there's f6 there, but you know, yeah, I agree with you that the queen is the big question. Although it's not terrible in the diagonal. Okay, knight a5. And so now we have to think about, do we want to play rook c8 if we really want to activate the queen?
It's definitely a move, but I like the idea that you mentioned, like knight f4, knight c4, maybe queen h6 to g5, putting pressure here, also getting your queen close to a black's king. So there's always some tactics. He goes rook b1. He's looking to move rook b5 to put a lot of pressure on the pawn. So maybe now Tari should play a6 to take that square away.
He's built up almost a minute advantage over Tari, which is significant for this kind of complex position. So I got a good feeling about Hikaru's chances here.
Yeah, no, that's what he's really good at. Sometimes he just speeds up, puts the pressure on the clock and on the board, and very often his opponents just collapse. So we see him with king g7 by Tari.
What do you think about queen f1? Or yeah, he went queen g4. I was also queen f1. There was knight d2 fork, but yeah.
Knight d2. Tari fishing for some tricks, but are they there? Rook d1. Wait, knight c4. You can consider takes and knight h5. Queen b4. Wait, this looks wrong. Some
rook c7, right? Just come in with the rook.
Right, or rook d2.
Idea.
Rook c2 also move. Knight c4, maybe knight d5.
I don't know how you can resist rook c7 here. I don't know.
That looks very tempting indeed with Tari on 20 seconds. So let's see what he's going to go for. I think, yeah, rook c7 looks super tempting. Queen d7 it comes in. But also after rook c2, where exactly does the knight go?
Because his knight d5 is still hanging, right? I mean, actually, rook c2. Okay, he goes rook c7.
Rook c7, yeah. Tough position for Tari with 15 seconds on the clock. Queen d7 is a big, big threat. Knight takes d5 might also be a move in some positions. Tari, 8 seconds. He's got to go. Knight c4?
Yeah,
Queen d7? There's at the very least knight d6. It's all falling apart, I feel like. Knight d5, still queen b3? But then knight c3 looks crushing. Which one is Hikaru going to go for? He has to win this game.
Well, he's got the beautiful pieces on the 7th rank. He's got everything in place to do it. He's got more time. He's on his way to winning some material. So I think, you know, he doesn't really have anything stopping him from taking this game.
Tari's sext exchange might be a good practical decision. Queen e7 pinning the knight. And I think that should be it. But what, king g2 maybe? Yeah. Love that move, making sure there's no back rank check. And then you clean up the game like this, I would think. Still needs some solid technique to finish this one up. By the way, also, okay, gives a check. Take maybe. Decent, but knight f5. The knight keeps jumping. And, you know, if there's a knight on the board, it's never over in Blitz. Yep. There Tari goes.
Yeah, he needs to get a queen trade. Okay, I like the rook trade.
King g7, it's not over. This king is still a little bit weak. He has to win this game. Check.
Queen e1 is a
king h6. There's no easy checkmate. Wait, I think he played like queen c4. Okay, check. King up. Queen there. Queen e4.
Okay.
It's not over. Tari fighting well here.
Oh my gosh, and Hikaru doesn't have a lot of time.
Check. King g2. But then check. Check. No, it's a draw now. He's through. Queen g1 is a perpetual. Tari goes back. What do we do here? No. This would be no. King f3. Queen d1. King e4. Wow, what a game.
All right.
He's marching his king up the board. Okay, queens. Check. You cannot go king e5. King d3 only move. King d3 only move. This rook is hanging. King d3. F3. F5. He takes. Okay.
Okay.
Check
so
maybe.
Game now. Can
push.
You go to d pawn?
In between d6. Push the pawn. Push. Yep.
Okay. The king
and
can run to d7. The king can run somewhere.
King d5. I think it's over. This should be a win. Like king c7 in a blitz game, you don't hold these. King c6.
Yes, I think he's finally.
King B7.
He's,
He's got it. Yeah, you're not stopping the pawn. Wow, what a game.
Wow, that was so crazy.
D7,
man.
and that's it. And King A8. Or there.
Yeah. Oh man, I guess Tari, he got himself chances. He fought well, but oh man, Tari, yeah. Look at that. He's such a good sport, I have to say. Look at that smile. He he enjoyed that game. It really was a good fight.
Indeed, yeah, he's showing he's a great sport there because not everyone resigns for the small. But Hikaru gets a very important win. What a game! I mean, it looked like Hikaru had it in the bag. He had more time, had a crushing position, but Tari managed to cook up some chances with the knight. And again, it's never easy. So I'm sure that Hikaru is not happy that he let that one get out of control. I think right here we talked about this move, King G2. What can black do? This knight is pinned. You would always trade the queens. Black can play something like knight c4, but what I would consider here with white is just like take. Maybe you even do like this.
Well, what's wrong with rook b1?
Or, yeah, just rook b1. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, just rook b1 and you clean up the game. But even this, you should be up. You're going to be up 2 pawns.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty straightforward win. So I think that's really where he let it get out of control. He takes another pawn, but this knight stays on the board, and there's always going to be chances. We'll see what is happening. By the way, we're getting word that Fabiano beat LA Reza. That's not a result we wanted, because Fabiano is one of Hikaru's competitors for one of those top spots. So, game. Oh wait, LA Reza also played 1b4.
Wow, did they just prepare it together, or is this like
who knows?
At the top level? That they're analyzing. That's crazy. Well, but I mean, people are just doing a lot to get the game out of theory. I mean, that seems to be the general trend, right?
Exactly. Fabiano threw in some nice sacrifices, and he has a big lead in development. All right, things looking okay-ish for white, but you still haven't castled yet. Okay, finally we have that move. C3. Fabiano definitely with some pressure. So where the thing... Oh, it starts to... This doesn't look right. It feels like there's got to be a win here. Oh! He missed a very straightforward win.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, so rook takes e2, knight e2, and then what? Hold on. Is it bishop c4? Then you go queen e1.
Does anyone in the chat see it? Rook takes c2 is the right start.
Yeah.
Knight takes c2.
Let's start. Let's just think of. Oh, I see it. Okay, nice. I'm sorry, I'm so slow. Rook e2, knight e2, then a queen d1 check, and then when the queen is pulled back, guys, now I'm gonna let you think about it.
What is the move here for black? I'll give you guys a hint. Deflection.
I've led you closer to the promised land. Now you just gotta make that final step yourself.
Exactly. And someone pointed it out in the chat. Bishop takes g2 and you win the queen. But again, with 4 seconds on the clock, nothing is easy. Bishop c4, fine move. But, you still have to finish. That's a big pawn to blunder. That's wait. Rook a1 would have been game over right away.
Oh, wow. Winning the queen even. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, here it's still a fight. Firouzja should be winning, but definitely not easy to finish it off. But... now that white's king is also out in the open. Okay. Yeah, you lose this pawn.
Easy. Yeah.
Well, again, there's a knight on the board. There's still possible to blunder a tactic, but Fabiano kept his cool. Wait, he blundered here.
Oh, wait. Yeah, he allowed something to happen which shouldn't have happened. Oh, man. Suddenly his out in the open.
In Blitz, anything can always happen.
Oh man, that poor king having to go to b7 from where it was safely placed on the king side. That's pretty crazy.
Right, so rook b5, and here it was all over, because either you're going to get checkmated on h6 or f5, or after this, there's f5. And not only are you getting forked, you lose your queen. So Fabiano gets a very important win. So, but look at the scoreboard. Hikaru got that win that he needed so badly, but it doesn't even change that much. He is currently tied for 6th place with Carlsen, and he's half a point behind Wesley and Fabiano. He definitely needs a win in the last round. Again, I think it's kind of unfortunate that Fabiano won that game. Magnus draws against Wesley, and in the meantime, Nodurbek beats Anish. So that's pretty much it for Anish. Is not going to make it into the top half. Noterbeck secures himself another white game, and Shaq beats Gukesh. So
Wow.
again, I think Hikaru is playing Shaq with the black pieces. I don't remember them having played yet, but it is a must-win game.
Good about that, Benjamin, is that you're playing someone who's not as motivated as you. Like, Mamedyarov kind of knows that he's got it locked up no matter what, but Hikaru has everything to fight for. I think that's not a bad scenario for Hikaru because he's just playing a slightly less hungry lion. Anything can happen, but I do think that psychological factor can be important. Very often, Benjamin, when someone like wins a tournament with a round to spare, they actually lose their last game.
That has often happened, yeah, because they relax and they already, even though they don't celebrate, they throw a party internally. They celebrate and the tension is a little bit off. So that's a very good point. Yeah, Mamedyarov, like you said, he already locked in that extra white game. I'm sure he wants to win the tournament, but it's not at the top of his priority list. I think for everyone, the top priority is securing that extra white game. And but that being said, I don't think there's a prize fund for this Blitz tournament, is there?
You know what? I am not sure about that. We can try to check that. Or we can get our producers to look into that. Is there a prize fund for the Blitz tournament?
I'm sure that Shaq would love to win the tournament. I think Shaq would love to finish the tournament off with a draw, so at least he guarantees himself shared first. You also don't want to end on a loss. But Hikaru's going to have to fight. I mean, what is he going to do against D4? Is he going to stick to the BOGO? Is he going to play some sort of modern, King's Indian? I'm very curious to see what he's going to do.
I think he should stick to his usual thing. He's been doing all right with black. I would probably just stick to his BOGO, actually.
Okay, and let's have a very quick look at some of the other pairings. So Magnus is playing Firouzja. Okay, so let's say Magnus wins that game. I think that's sort of the worst scenario for Hikaru. Because then Firouzja and Magnus might stay ahead of him. It seems that Magnus might have the better... Yeah, Magnus beat Hikaru. So Magnus should have the better tiebreaker. Let's have a look at some of the other pairings. So Wesley is playing Aryan. Okay, we're kind of hoping for a win for Aryan here, but Wesley, of course, very strong player. And then we're kind of hoping for a win for Anish. But for Anish right now, there's nothing to play for. So it's not easy. Even if Hikaru wins his game, there's no guarantee that he will make it in.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. For sure.
But I don't know if he had...
Against Gukesh, that was a little disappointing for him. And I guess, the
loss against Fabiano on time.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really where, and of course the game against Magnus, like those two games, because before that he was right in it. He was on +1, he was on a good score, but then he lost the game to Fabiano on time. I mean, position was complicated, but maybe he would have normally scored a draw there. And then the game against Magnus, if he wins that game, I think he's got great chances to make it in. But now it's looking tough. So we'll see what he is going to try to do. I guess we'll start in like 2 minutes at the 40-minute mark. But it's for sure he needs to win here. It's for sure he needs to win. He kind of has to hope that Magnus doesn't win. He also has to hope that Fabiano doesn't win. But even if Fabiano draws his game, maybe Fabiano will have the better tiebreaker. And yeah, it's tough. He's going to have to overtake 2 people. So not an easy spot at all. Maybe a win will not be enough.
Yeah, this tournament, by the way, which is starting tomorrow, guys, it has a really interesting format. In case of a draw, the players actually play an Armageddon game like every time there is a draw, which is really quite innovative. I mean, have they had a tournament like this before, Benjamin?
I think the only tournament where they've done this is Norway Chess, and I think they implemented that system in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And they've stuck through it ever since. It's definitely an interesting format where just making a draw is not the end of the day. You still have to play in Armageddon. So yeah, definitely an interesting format. What do you think of it, Irina?
I mean, I think it's very cool because you're basically saying, okay, that drawn result is not enough. We need something decisive to happen today, and you get some extra points for winning an Armageddon. So you get an extra like half a point. I think that's what it is. And yeah, I mean, I think it should make the players more combative in their regular games as well. Just knowing that like their day is not going to end if they make a draw, so they might as well you know, give it their all in the regular classical game.
Right, and yeah, just to remind everyone of the format. If you win your classical game, you get 2 points. If you draw your classical game and win the Armageddon, you get 1.5. If you draw the classical and lose the Armageddon, you get half a point. And if you lose the classical, you get 0. But the players are getting ready. We see Hikaru looking very focused. He knows he needs to win, and the Shaq starts with d4, so let's see it. Knight of 6. I think, is he going to stick to his guns or maybe King's Indian? What do you think?
Okay, so I think it's going to be the Bogo Indian again.
Right, and there we have it. Bishop e4. What is Shaq gonna do? Bishop d2 is kind of the solid line. c5. This is what Hikaru has been playing in the Pro Chess League, also in Title Tuesdays.
Yeah.
But I think objectively, it has a reputation that it's a little bit better for white, but not easy to play.
Yeah, it's just that Hikaru has a lot of experience with this structure. I saw he beat Ju Wenjun in a game in the Pro Chess League. So yeah, he definitely likes to employ this unbalanced pawn structure in his rapid online games. So I'm not surprised he's going for it because, you know, just familiarity with a position matters for so much in Blitz.
Exactly. You know, see the move Queen d3 by Shaq, followed by Knight b2. You can go e4 here, but then you're committing a lot of pawns to the light squares, and we only have the light squared bishops on the board. So that's kind of what he's hoping for, because now he can go e5, and you can slowly see how he can maybe carve out the dark squares. Like, let's say d5, you get great control over these squares. That's why Shaq goes rook 81 and 96. He wants to provoke that pawn forward, but Shaq is keeping the pawn structure undefined.
Yeah, maybe Queen c7 at some point here seems to be a pretty reasonable square. And yeah, I mean, it's like white's positional advantage is not so easy to realize. At some point, they might maybe want to go like knight f1, knight e3, but like they have to make sure they don't hang like pawn on e4 along the way. I think they can do it. It's an idea. They might want to play pawn to b3 at some point as well, just to have that protected.
Shaq plays h3, queen c7, and now if you play knight f1, what about takes and knight e5? Definitely.
That's exactly why I was saying maybe you want that pawn on b3. Yeah.
Right, but b3 is committing another pawn to the light square, so it's possible. I think Hikaru can be happy about the outcome of the opening. Okay, now is the big question: do you take, or maybe white plays b3 now to defend that pawn first? But here's the first moment where Hikaru probably has to really think. Like, is he going to take on d4 or not?
Yeah, if he doesn't take, so the knight comes in, and the knight's trying to get either to f5 or maybe even to d5, right? Probably even to d5, yeah. So definitely knight f1 contains a positional threat. And I think Hikaru, so after pawn d4, b3, and white wants to just capture back on d4. It's a big question. Yeah, I mean, can we play 4 there, maybe get some counterplay? But I mean, b3 is like looking like a problematic move.
Yeah, to me, it's not obvious at all what he is going to do there. He could also move this knight out of the way. Like, let's say he goes rook d8, but now knight e3. What exactly is the idea? Like, knight e5 is a positional threat, because then it feels like white gets more space in the center. So not an easy position at all for Hikaru to get a win from.
Yes, it is very solid for white, but you know, he's kind of used to that. That's how it goes. It stays balanced for a while, but eventually something will happen.
Exactly.
So, okay, he goes queen b8. So he's still like knight d5 can happen.
So what happens after knight d5? And there we have it on the board. Do you just move here now with knight d7? That's what Hikaru does. I think he just wants to keep the tension, slowly improve his position with moves like h6. But I like the move h4 by Shaq. He wants to go bishop h3, put pressure on that knight. And the knight is an important defender of this. So, I mean, you really don't want to take, because that sort of clears up the position. So I like how Shaq is playing this one.
Yeah, so there is this very interesting idea where you're going to take on d4 with the knight and try to take on d5 with the bishop. So he didn't go for that. But he needs to get rid of that knight on d5 at some point. I mean, that's like a really strong piece. So, okay, let's say queen c2 is like the natural move here.
Yeah, maybe you take and get rid of that knight. The knight is currently taking the pawn on b6.
Problem is they take on d5 with the rook always, right? So, no, I mean, Hikaru still has, I think, some issues to solve here.
Yeah, so I think he has to get rid of the knight on d4, otherwise it might jump to f5, and all of a sudden your king can come under attack, or it can jump to b5. So I think this knight has to go, and then he has to see, like, how does he continue from there? I don't know if this is...
Maybe
I mean,
take
it
on
is a threat.
d5, you know? Take on d5, queen d5, and... Okay. So...
Okay. You can also just move the bishop, defend that pawn. He goes f5. Wow, setting the board on fire, but... Not quite sure if this is the way to do it. It feels like, if anything, it leaves black's position a little bit loose. But if you take over here, it gets bishop e4.
Yeah, he's always
and
had this
things-
idea, though, of taking on d5, right? Like getting rid of the knight, then putting the queen back on the 7th, and then he has his pressure on e4. I actually kind of like f5. You know, it's definitely making the game a lot sharper.
Yeah, and both players are getting down to their last minute. Let's see what Shaq is going to do. I mean, it makes sense for him to move his queen out of the way, so his e-pawn is no longer pinned, but it feels like Hikaru should be able to take this pawn. Hikaru getting a slight time advantage. He's up like 20 seconds on the clock, so there's definitely chances here, but the position is not easy. It's still very balanced.
All right,
Rook
rook
d1.
d1. So what's the idea there? He wants us to take on e4, and then you're going to take on b6 or something?
I think so, yeah. Hikaru gets rid of the knight. Okay, I guess you take the rook. Now you take. He's up a pawn, but after queen d4, okay, rook e6, I guess, to defend.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
Queen f4 played.
Gotta work to
Wait,
get that pawn
Rook
back.
e6, rook e6. Wait, queen d4. I guess Shaq did like queen f4 and then moved it to d4. Let's have a look. Yeah, for judging from the camera, that is indeed what happened.
There's the crazy line here with like rook e6 and rook c5, bc, and then like queen c5.
Oh,
Yeah, that is a crazy one. But okay, Shaq didn't see that, which is
but I'm happy that Shaq didn't do that, because then
Yeah.
could have killed the game on the spot. Now, after rook f8, there's still some chances you hit that pawn on f2. And how do you defend it? There are definitely some tricks, but the position is fairly simplified. So let's see what Hikaru can pull off here. Both players around 32 seconds.
yeah. Hikaru just kind of looked up. I bet he was looking at the standings to see how the other games finished. But okay, he needs to just focus on his game.
He needs a win, like, regardless of what happens in the other games. Rook f8, nice move hitting that pawn. Maybe a rook d2 by Shaq to defend it, but then knight d3, queen e8. Takes e3, but is it that much? I mean, you're taking king h2.
Yeah,
I think that was an
very
important
calling
pawn.
for
He
white, right?
could
King
not.
H2.
I don't think he should have given that one up. King h2, and I don't see it. Bishop d5, by the way, is a big threat. G6 maybe,
Yeah.
but can you really create some winning chances here is the big question. Rook e8?
Okay, yeah. Black's king is not the most secure, and his knight cannot really move easily from c5. So it is pretty tricky.
h6, maybe queen e5?
Yeah, he knows he's worse. He's trying to make a draw.
Well, I think going into the endgame might still be good for black, because you go like rook e2, go after this pawn, queen c6 by Shaq. Tricky move, rook f8. Okay, rook d5 might win a pawn, queen d5, playing, okay, take. Is he going to take with the
back bishop takes, and then
king h8, king g2,
yeah.
g6, a rook d, king f3. Are there some tricks? Maybe knight a4 at some point, or, okay, g6, bring in the king.
Yeah, so he's still obviously
It
doesn't
should
have
be
a glimmer of
that-
winning chances yet, but
g6, but he's got the knight, you never know. Rook
yeah,
e2.
okay. They've got about the same amount of time, like under 15 seconds. Okay.
Okay, king g7 check. Where do you go? Do you go? King h6 looks tricky to me. Okay, knight c5 back. Okay, come on. He's got to pull something out here. King f6. Rook d8. I like his knight more than the h6 maybe.
H6 now. Oh, don't let him play g5. Oh no. Oh.
This king is in a bit of a mating net. This looks tricky. b5 maybe.
He cannot move at all.
Or h6. I like that move. Rook h7.
Yeah.
Now his king is breaking out. But
Okay.
is it ever going to be enough to create real winning chances? Check.
Okay, Shaq is trying to keep it
King
even
f6. King
solid.
f6. King f6. You got to keep that knight on the board. Okay. 7 seconds for Shaq. h5. Knight takes e4 now. Wait. And you take over here. You take an
He's trying to
h5.
be up a pawn or something.
Take an h5.
Yeah.
c5 is a strong. Rook d4. Okay, take. King
Okay.
g5. King g5.
All right,
Wait.
All right. He's got some winning chances now.
And king h4.
H4.
He went back. Okay, wait. No, I
Wanted
think
to
he
get
hasn't.
a little bit of time or something.
c5. Okay. But
Take,
this looks
take,
tough.
take.
Check. Can he win this one? He needs a win. Take
Oh.
and maybe b5. Okay.
Okay. Rook d6. I got rook d6.
King g5 only move. Okay, rook f5, and rook c5. That looks pretty
Okay,
strong. Rook
that's
c5,
nice. Rook c5. That's really good.
rook
Really good.
d6.
We're
Check,
gonna check or
check.
something.
Ah, yes, you win. Rook c7, rook c7,
Okay,
rook
and you
c7,
get
king
to go
up,
rook c2, and you're gonna win.
king
Oh,
f5, king
Yeah.
e4, and that should be it. That should be it. But the big question is it going to be enough? Take check, and
Yeah,
you're
should
only
be.
up one pawn.
Oh,
King
yeah.
d4, it's game over.
Well, it's enough for this game, but is it gonna be enough for the standings? Amazing.
So
Pulled it out. He pulled it
big
out.
win for Hikaru. It
Wow.
didn't look very likely, but he managed to get the desired win with the black pieces.
He kept
And let's
trying,
have-
you know, he's such a fighter.
He truly is. The game between Magnus and Firouzja ends in a draw. So I think that means that he overtakes Magnus, but Fabiano's game is going to end in a draw, and I think Fabiano will stay ahead of him. I mean, unless Anish pulls out a miracle here, but I
mean,
don't
he's
think
a
it's...
little bit better. He's a little better, but I guess he's not gonna.
Wait, but that's a blunder. Wait, king c4, king c4. Wait, is Anish winning? Wait, how do you make the draw here?
Well,
King
I don't know, if
c3.
the king is better. He could win.
Wait, Anish could... Wait, if Anish wins, I think he
no
might overtake
time.
Fabiano as well. King
No
d2?
time.
King d2? Apparently he's winning. King d2 and king e1.
Oh, coming from
won.
the back, and he does
Anish
it.
finds it. This would be a
Wow.
mere f6. That's a big blunder. Wait, no, wait, this should be winning, right? King d3? King f2 apparently only move
He's
one.
gonna give up the pawn, and it's still gonna be a draw. That feels like not fair. Oh man, because it's a side pawn, the H pawn. Oh,
King d3? Oh no, what a... Oh,
it is a draw. So
that would be...
f6, and it doesn't even
King
matter. 'cause you go
f3.
King f3 and king f2, and yeah.
Oh my god, that would be a heartbreaker for Hikaru. I think if Anish had won this game, he would have for sure gotten an extra white. But now I think it's not going to be enough, but not sure.
Oh man, that was crazy. The good pawn end game. I'll probably show my students.
Yeah. I mean, it's so difficult to calculate with just a couple of seconds. Anish, he went for the e-pawn, but he had a win there.
Yeah, we can take a look at that when they're done. Well, okay, they're kind
I
of
think
done.
none of this really matters
Yeah.
because, like, it's... you could have gotten in g4, g3, but it didn't make a difference. Okay.
Can you show us like how he was winning that pawn end game?
Yes. Okay,
Okay.
just to show real quick, right here, he had to play the move f6, and you move your king,
And then
and
you
you
just go
just...
to g1 or something. Yeah, that's it.
The h-pawn goes very fast.
You know what I was curious about? Why did he have to play e4? Why not king e4 there? It's
I don't know, but I think this is a pretty basic draw here. I think and the game does end in a draw. So let's have a look what happens. So Noterbeck wins. He's not catching him. Wait, where's Firouzja? Firouzja draws. I think Hikaru finishes 6th. I think he finishes 6th if my calculations are not wrong. But quite a heartbreaker. Had Anish won this game, he would have made it into the top half.
yeah, that is pretty crazy that all rested on the other results. Well, you know, he did what he could. He won his last 2 games.
Wait. I had a look at the standings on
Wait.
chess.com. It's showing that Hikaru comes in 4th. And Fabiano comes in 6th place. But I don't know if that is confirmed.
Oh, wow.
So-
By the way, Magnus, we got to say that your prediction, Benjamin, was right on the money. You said he would finish with a 50% score after starting out -2. And yeah, that's what it is, 4.5 points.
I told you guys, I knew it all along. He made an impressive comeback, but then he lost some games anyway. But yeah, it seems like the final standings, although we will have to wait for confirmation. So Noterbeck wins the Blitz tournament with 6 points out of 9 games. Then we have Firouzja and Mamajarov on 5.5. And then we have Hikaru, Wesley, So, and Fabiano on 5 points. It looks like Fabiano might end in 6th place, and that will mean that he will have an extra black game. He will definitely not be thrilled about that. But then the big question is, so Wesley and Hikaru drew. What did Wesley do against Fabiano? Did Wesley beat Fabiano? I think...
I don't remember looking at that game. But you know what's funny is that Abdusatorov won the tournament. I mean, this is actually the first time in this tournament that he came out as the leader after the final game. Like he has not been leading this tournament yet, which is pretty cool. So we've had like 3 different leaders today, guys. We've had Mamedyarov, Ali Reza, and now Noterbeck finishing on top. So that is quite, you know, quite the nice finish for him. I mean, in this very stacked field.
All right, so we're getting word that Hikaru we're not going to be able to interview Hikaru. I don't know if he's going to be on the official broadcast, but I also had a quick look at the official broadcast. It does look like Hikaru finished in 4th place, which is what he needs. He wants to finish in the top half, so now he will get himself an extra white game. And Irina, if you're Noterbeck here, which color would you pick? I think there's a lot to be said for a lot of colors. You could, for example, pick number 1, because then you will start with a white piece against Ariantari, and you get a double white. But what some players also like to do is pick number 5. So they start with white, and then black, and then it's just like white, black every round. There's no double white in between.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's not bad at all. You know, just start with white and finish on a white. You know, getting double whites. I mean, yeah, I personally like just, you know, the transition every round, you know. I wouldn't feel like, you know, like I need to start with 2 whites or get double whites at any point. So, yeah, that'd probably be my choice.
Yeah, I think there's a very good chance he would go for that. And then he would have white in the second game against Firouzja. So Hikaru, I don't know if he can choose or if he is just assigned number 4. Hey,
no, you know
if he is assigned number
Benjamin,
4...
how it works is they all choose. Because if you finish first, you get the first choice. If you finish second, you get the second choice. So it really just depends on what other people choose before him.
Well, sometimes that is how it is, but sometimes number 1 chooses and then the rest gets their number. But if Hikaru would be 4th, he would play Magnus in round number 1. I don't know if that is necessarily the pairing that you want. It might be, you might pick another game.
Yeah, you mean because like 4 plays 6 or something like that, or set or
I think he's
5 plays 7.
I think yeah. Well, number 4 plays number 7, so he's definitely going to get a tough pairing. I mean, might be like Fabian or Magnus, but I think we'll just have to wait for that for the final standings. But it looks like Hikaru did finish in 4th place and gets that extra white game. But I think with all that being said, it doesn't seem like we will be able to get him for an interview. So I think we are just going to wrap up pretty soon. But yeah, Irina, it was a lot of fun covering this event with you.
This is a lot of fun, right? I mean, it's just so fast paced and it was like over so quickly. The games were great. I mean, the players, it's always such a treat to see the top players in the world play. And so we are going to be back tomorrow, guys. A little bit earlier in the day for the coverage of the classical portion of the tournament. And that is going to be starting, I think, what is it, like around, do you know the time exactly, Benjamin?
I think it is going to be starting at the same time or maybe an hour later. I'm not 100% sure. Let me, or maybe even an hour, I think an hour earlier than today.
Yes.
I think an hour earlier. I think
maybe even 2 hours earlier. Don't they start at like 11 a.m. Eastern?
Let me check that real quick. I think it might even be like 10 a.m. Eastern. Okay, in the meantime, we're still waiting. Okay, so they're going to be starting 19 hours from now, which is at
11 a.m.
They're going to be starting no, I think they're going to be starting at 11 a.m. Eastern. Yeah, they're going to be starting at 11 a.m. Eastern. Okay. So yeah, that is when all of you guys want to tune in. I assume we're going to start on Kick again. On Twitch, and then we will move over to Kick. So everyone, make sure to follow the channel. Irina, it was a great pleasure covering this event with you, and now we're going to see how he's going to do in the classical. I'm always excited to see how Hikaru will do because he doesn't play a lot of classical, but he shows time and time again that he can hang with the top guys.
Oh wow, we just got some standings, and it looks like Hikaru actually wound up in 6th place. So we got that clarified. Yeah, tie breaks, guys. Tie breaks are tough. Yeah, I mean, so he actually, it's funny because all the 3 American players were tied on 5 out of 9. And you were saying, Benjamin, yeah, that you think +1 usually gets you into the top half, but yes, it was just, he missed it by just a tiny little bit. I mean, the one consolation is that all the American guys did a little bit better than Magnus.
Yeah, I just had a quick look. The thing is, they all finished on 5 points out of 9. So then they look, I think, at the direct encounters. So Fabiano, he scored 1.5 out of 2 against Wesley and Hikaru. He won that game against Hikaru and drew against Wesley. Hikaru made a draw against Wesley and lost against Fabiano. So only scores half a point, and Wesley scored 1 point against that point group. So that is why Hikaru's tiebreak, unfortunately, was the worst. That being said, he did beat Noderbeck, but I guess the direct encounters came first.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, did it come first?
Yeah.
Well,
So I guess that's why maybe the final standings were updated later. I think, yeah, the direct encounter often comes first. So very unfortunate. He's gonna be playing. He's gonna be starting out with the black pieces, and maybe against Wesley.
Who knows? It might not be so bad for him, right? Sometimes you actually are like very solid with black. It's not too much of a difference. I mean, his games with white today, I mean, always in a blitz tournament is different, but like he actually seemed to struggle more with white than with black.
Yeah, no, for sure. He didn't really manage to get much going out of the opening with the white pieces. So hopefully he's got his black game figured out. He's going to have to be playing 5 of them. Definitely a slight setback, but it's really not the end of the world.
Yeah. So guys, we're going to be seeing you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern for the Norway Chess Classic. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, Benjamin. Will you be here tomorrow with me?
I will not be here tomorrow, so I don't know who your co-host
I don't
will
know
be.
either. It's a surprise. Okay, that's okay. Well, then thank you, Benjamin, for commentating with me today. It was great to see you. And, I hope I'll see you again in the future here.
Yeah, see you guys tomorrow where we will have James Canty. Anyway, everyone, thanks for watching, and we will see you guys then.
When I see some of these moves that computer suggests after a game that I play, and I just go, wow, that is the beauty for me. Because these are not moves that I would ever consider. And when I then see the move, and then I might make a couple of moves to try and understand why, that is the beauty to me. I'm just trying to play as well as I can, and I don't really worry. Like, if I lose a game, it's not the end-all be-all. I'm not naturally talented, but if I don't get something, I try to figure out, why don't I get it? What am I doing wrong? Over and over and over again. Bye.